Hi, Girly Pop Society. Today we sat down with Caitlin. She shares her 4 birth stories, going through each one from 2 hospital births, a birth center birth, and a home birth. Get ready to listen to 4 amazing birth stories. We believe a birth story doesn't begin with labor, it begins with her.
Welcome to Girly Pop Birth Talks, where we go beyond the delivery room. Each week, we interview a woman just like you and unlike you about her pregnancy, her birth, and also her becoming, and what led her to the most transformative experience of her life.
So grab a drink, a snack, and cozy up, because around here we go from laughing one minute to crying the next.
As we listen to the stories that shape us.
Because birth isn't just about babies, it's about the women who rise in the process. Welcome, Caitlin Gillings, to Girly Pop Birth Talks.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're so grateful to have this conversation and hear 4 birth stories.
Yeah.
So if you were to describe yourself, who are you? Who are you married to? What do you do? What's like a little glimpse of your life today?
Okay, well, I'm married to my husband, Andrew. We have 4 kids. They're 9, 7, 4, and 1.5. I get to stay home with them. We homeschool, and so that's pretty much what I do most of
Full-time
the
job.
time. Yeah, it is. They keep me very busy.
Mhm.
And my husband works out of town, so between running the house and school and kids and all of that,
Yeah.
like that's
Your
pretty
life.
much me
How
right now.
often is he out of town?
All the time.
What?
I haven't quite figured out how to explain this in a simple way yet. He works in LA,
Oh my
and
gosh, that's
he's
out of town.
yeah, he is finishing up his electrical lineman apprenticeship,
Okay.
and he got sent down there for his last rotation. And so he works 6 days a week now, and so he's there
Oh my.
2 weeks at a time, comes home for 1 day, and then is gone another 2 weeks. And so
Oh my gosh.
You're already my hero. I don't know how you do that, seriously.
Well, she homeschools.
I
She
mean,
doesn't do the so
I'm
she
sorry,
has 2
don't
kids
pretend
in
that
school.
makes things
No,
easy.
it's not easier, but I don't know. Do you have to she has to leave the house like
no.
6 times for these drop-offs back and forth plus having a new baby?
Yeah, no, I don't have to do any of that.
I
But
don't think
still.
it's easier, but at least like it's on her own timeline. If
Yes.
Totally.
I'm
That's
I'm
just
making
still
it her
4
life.
kids.
Yeah.
I'm amazed. I'm trying to say you're amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I don't know about that, but it is what it is. It's the season
Wait, we just
we're
wake up and
in,
we do it,
and
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So is it kind of like nice to do that like and not have like we have to be out of the house at 7? Do you guys kind of just like start your day when you start your day?
Yeah. So my boys are all early risers, and my daughter's not. So
Hmm.
they get me up about 6:30. I wake up with them, and because Hank's still in my bed, and so the big boys will come in. We'll hang out in my bed for a little bit. Then we get up. We start our day. Whenever she feels like getting up, she'll usually come on out.
That's me.
I have to wake her usually around like 8:30 and be like, "Girlfriend, you have to get up. You
Yeah,
have to
it's
start like
time.
eating, getting ready. You have school to do. Like we have places to go, things to do." But besides that, yeah, it's very helpful to just be able to have my own schedule and
Yeah,
not have to
slow
bounce around. And
mornings.
yeah,
Fun.
yeah,
That's
Wow.
a lot.
Yeah.
it is.
One
Yeah.
day a week. I would
Yeah,
just miss them for like myself.
totally.
Ugh,
Well, yeah.
I really
it's
do.
so intense.
Yeah.
But it has an end, it sounds like. So he's doing an apprenticeship. I can't say that word, but
Apprenticeship. Yeah. Yeah. So he's if everything goes smoothly and there's no more interruptions, because we've already had a few things slow it down, then he has 8 months left.
Oh my god,
So we'll be doing
that's
this
not
for
even soon.
And then he gets to go do a really dangerous job.
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
but
Yeah, I
hopefully
know.
local.
Hopefully local. Yeah, so he'll at least get to come home at night because he'll get to decide where he works. Jobs will come up. The way his system works is that like he'll be on a list. They'll call him when jobs come up. He can turn down 3, and then he has to get back at the bottom of the list and go through. But he
Mm.
can do that as many times as he needs to until the right job comes along.
Okay.
So he'll have the freedom to pick, whereas in the apprenticeship you get what you get and you don't get upset. Like you
Yeah.
just do it.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
That's like a big but the job's good. I've
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah, yeah. I
Mhm.
Yeah.
mean, it makes good money, so we're able to have 4 kids. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Live
and
in
I'm able to stay
California.
home. Yeah, live in California, and I'm able to homeschool. And he can't do a desk job. He can't sit still. He tried that, didn't work, and
Mhm.
so he needed something
Yeah, it
that he
works for
could
your
be.
family.
Yeah, it does.
And it's a
Mm.
season.
It is.
8 months is I guess
Absolutely
it
is.
feels like a long time, but in the big life. In big
In
life.
big life.
Right.
Not so big.
You know
Well,
what? Big life made me think of whitewashing.
That makes me think of isn't Russia the biggest country?
I don't know for sure, but it's huge.
I think it is.
Anyways,
Today's mocktail.
give it a little. I couldn't find a spoon. Today's mocktail is a peppermint white
White.
Like,
Russian.
thank you. Shaken, not stirred.
So I was pregnant last Christmas,
Okay.
and I love a peppermint white Russian. And so we were like, we have to find a mocktail that tastes like a peppermint white Russian to satisfy this craving. And we found it.
Yep.
So
The recipe is.
I'm not sharing it. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm like, oh, tell the people.
It's Olipop, cream soda, a dash of half and half, and a little peppermint oil.
Essential oil.
Essential oil.
And I feel like it has, because the essential oil, that little like kick, that like liquor
Yeah.
liquor kick.
Whoa, that's minty in my face. Needs to be stirred
That's
a little.
good.
I think went a little heavy on the mint.
It's good. That
I
reminds
like
me
it.
of the little mint candies. Like,
Yes.
I can't think of what they're called.
Alnoids.
No, they're like chocolate and mint. Like,
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what
I can't.
I'm.
Something like that.
I would flip them into my
Altoids.
mouth. No, not Altoids. Those are mints.
Like an actual chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would put it on my tongue and then like flip it in. I
Yeah,
remember.
the little
You guys are
circles.
gaslighting me. What I'm talking about is an actual chocolate too.
No, Altoids are not chocolates.
Yes, they are.
No,
Okay,
they're not.
Okay, you're thinking of Altoids, like the little tin can of
Yeah.
mints.
Mhm.
I'm saying a different thing.
Well, it's coming out the same, Becca.
The ones I give at Olive Garden before you leave. It's like chocolate with a.
Yeah, it's not called Altoids.
What's it
though.
called?
It does start with an A.
Yeah, it looks like it. It's like ANLIEOD.
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name either.
It's like a green.
Andy's
Why did
mints.
you just
Andy's.
Andy's mints. That's what
That's
it
what
is.
I'm saying. ALNIOT. Andy.
I was doing the letters. I'm like, okay,
I see the connection.
my brain is very unique.
It's so special. Okay, so anyway, let's go back a little bit to childhood. I got minty lips.
I love this little like crossover.
So growing up, tell us about any influences of like on you as far as childbirth. Did you hear your mom talking about her birth stories? Did you hear anybody? Did you see it in movies or
Yeah, what do you know?
what
What do you know about birth?
I didn't have much information about it. My mom did talk about my birth a little bit. I was her only child, so it was just the one. And she gave me like a very brief version.
Mhm.
And then when I was older, I was able to pull a little more like details out of her. But she had a C-section with me, an emergency C-section. Basically, all she said was like she woke up one morning, knew I was coming, but something was wrong, went to the hospital. They did like the amniotosis, whatever, something was wrong, and C-section. And that was like the version I got growing up. She went on more about afterwards because she ended up getting like her recovery room. She shared with an older woman who had pneumonia and ended up,
What?
she caught it. Was
Oh
in
my
the
gosh.
hospital for 5 days. And like they kept me in the nursery and just bring me for her to nurse and then take me back.
Wow.
And so that was what she really focused on whenever she talked
That's
about
wild.
her story. Yeah.
Mhm.
And but it wasn't until I was older that I was able to get like a little more information out that she was actually in labor when she realized something was wrong. She started bleeding and she's like, "Yeah, I actually was all the way to pushing." And then
wow.
they were like, "Oh, something's wrong." They did the test and were like, "Oh no, we need to go have the C-section." So I grew up thinking like she never even went into labor. So even like I don't think I found out till like my second or third. Oh no, right before right after my second, I think. And so I was like, I didn't even know you like went through labors here. I'm thinking like you have no clue
Yeah.
about it, and you actually
It's
did the
funny
whole
how
thing.
the stories get like so condensed
Yeah.
over the years.
Yeah. And so
I
that
didn't
was
even birth the baby. They just brought me in this baby to breastfeed. Yeah.
right. And so finally got like a few details. I was like, oh, okay, she did actually like go through labor and had the C-section. To me, that's like the worst.
Yeah.
Like to have to do both. I'm like,
Oh
oh
yeah,
man.
that's the
I'm
double
like,
whammy.
yeah. So that was pretty much my only like thing, except for movies, TV, all
Yeah.
of that. Until my friends started having kids, and then I had a friend who had all of her babies naturally, and she just talked about how painful it was, but that she was scared of an epidural, so that was the choice she was gonna have. And so I was like,
Mhm.
I want an epidural, like no questions about it. I want an epidural. That's what I'm gonna do. And yeah, so that was kind of the influence that I had on it. It
Yeah.
wasn't much, but
I want to know more about being an only kid and then
Yeah.
having 4
yeah.
kids.
Yeah,
What was
tell
your
us about that.
experience that led
Yeah.
you to choosing 4X, the opposite?
Yeah, I didn't like being only child.
Okay.
I thought
Does
it was
any
boring.
child like that? Because I feel like every time I hear
know.
like an only child talk about it, they say they didn't like it.
know.
My boyfriend's an only child, and I think he's
Oh, I think
just
he loves
content.
it.
Is he?
Yeah.
I forgot about him.
I think he has no regrets.
Yeah. I always used to say that it was nice because I got all of the things.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I got to do whatever I wanted. There wasn't anybody to have to share my mom's time with, my parents,
yeah,
like, if I wanted to do a sport, I didn't have, okay, well, each person has to do like this. We
yeah.
do. It was just, I ran the show, kind of.
I was the show.
Yeah. And so,
I'm sure that has a lot of perks. Yeah.
it did. And so that's what I told myself growing up.
Mm.
But like as a kid, I remember being super bored and lonely
Mhm.
and wanting siblings. Like I wanted them so badly. My favorite movie was Cheaper by the Dozen because they had
Aw.
so many
That
kids.
was one of my
Was it?
favorites.
I loved that movie and I was like, I want that. Like if I can't have that for siblings, I'm gonna make sure my kids have that. And so I always knew I wanted a big family. And my husband, I, asked him, I was like, do you want a big family? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm good with that. And so I was like, okay, that's what we'll do. For the most part, though, people would be like, I wouldn't guess you were an only child. Like, I wasn't a spoiled brat. I would always joke, people were like, you're so spoiled. I'm like, no, I'm well loved. And that was like my saying, but
Mhm.
I was never, I don't feel like I was ever a bratty kid or anything like
Yeah.
that. There was definitely some, like I said, some gaps in there where I could have learned things a little better. It was just I got to adulthood and it was like, I don't think of these things like you do.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
there was in friendships and different things, it's like I was in my own world kind of and not intentionally. Like I wasn't meaning to be selfish, but I sometimes wasn't thinking of other people just because I didn't have to
You know
growing up.
not
So I didn't
to.
learn
Yeah.
that skill
Yeah.
basically.
I think it's
So
so interesting.
There it is.
There
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
And
So
then, like,
you're right.
I hear her parent, and she'll tell her 7-year-old about, like, her and her sister and their arguments to,
Yeah.
like, relate, and I don't know, it's, like, interesting the dynamics that you can bring from
Yeah.
relationship to
Mhm.
relationship.
Well, and I tell my kids, I'm like, you're lucky you have each other. I'm like, I didn't have any siblings. You have
Yeah.
somebody to play with all day long. I had to sit
Mhm.
by myself.
Here's my
Sit in the
pony.
corner.
Yeah, so I'm like, you should be thankful that you have each other.
Mhm.
So fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking of, you're in your own world. It sounds
Mhm.
like obviously you made friends,
Yeah.
but you kind of were content and used to that. So how did you meet your husband? Like, how does that
Yeah.
play into that?
So we met in high school. We've been
Okay.
together since we were 16.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
I don't think I
Mhm.
knew this.
Yeah.
So
And
fun.
so we actually like crossed paths a couple of times growing up, but never actually met and knew it was each other till like way later on in high school.
Hmm.
And yeah, that's how we met each other. But I think it was fourth grade. We were on a field trip together because we went to two different campuses of the same private school. And I have like a picture of us sitting like two or three people apart from each other.
Wow.
And we didn't actually meet at all. We just have a picture together
Oh
in
my
like fourth
gosh. I
grade.
love those stories.
And then again I met his dad on that trip. I was on crutches. I had sprained my ankle and he helped me like
Mm.
down a hill. And my husband actually carried my bag up to my cabin, but still like
Mm.
never actually met each other. And then again in eighth grade, we sat at the same table on a field trip and but didn't get introduced to each other. And then it wasn't until high school that we actually met and we became best friends and then started dating.
Those stories, like, are just rock me because I'm like, those 2 people made 4 babies together,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then those 4 babies are gonna do like, it's just so
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah. So when you guys were dating, obviously you were in high school. So I don't
Yeah.
know how much you were thinking about like getting married and babies, but I feel like most of the time we as girls are thinking that at that
Yeah,
time.
totally.
So did you already know like I want to have more than one?
Mhm.
And were you guys talking about that or was it like we're not that serious?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I think we were together 6 months, and I was like, I'm gonna marry
Mm.
him. I remember before that, I liked him more than he liked me, and so I was like, I'm comfortable here. I like this. Like, I have the edge on
Yes.
this.
Mhm.
And then at 6 months, it just shifted, and I was like, oh no, like I have no control anymore. Like, not
I
over him,
hate
but
that
just like
shift.
it was just this feeling of like I'm in over my head all of a sudden. And I was
Mhm.
only like 16, 17 years old at that point, and like it was just big feelings for like being
Yes.
so young.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew it 6 months in that I was gonna marry him, and that was it. And he was on the same page, and
Oh.
so we did talk about it, and we did talk about kids. And he
Mhm.
would like make jokes about what if I proposed at graduation, and I was like, you can't joke to girls like that. Like that's not fair
Mhm.
because I want that, you want that, and you don't actually mean it. And
Mm.
so it was a long time of him saying things like, well, maybe I'll propose now, and maybe I'll, propose this time, that time, and just not. And I was like, okay, you need to stop because
Yeah.
you're like playing with my heart. Like, I know we're getting married, but like, I'm ready to start any day now.
Mhm.
So if you're not ready, like, just leave it alone until you are. Because we were engaged for 6 years. Or, I
Wow.
Okay,
mean, Yeah, 6 years.
Of being engaged or
Well, no,
dating?
to dating. So we were together for 6 years
Oh,
before we
okay.
got married. We were engaged for a year and a half.
Okay, so you guys dated for 6 years. So this is
Mhm.
now you guys are 23?
We got married just before my 23rd birthday.
Okay.
So 22 we got married, and just after that was 23, so
Was that a hard 6-year wait, or was it, like, were you
yes.
guys doing
Yeah, that's a
life?
long
It
time.
was. It was miserable for me in the, like, waiting. I'm not a
Yes.
patient person. It wasn't miserable years, but,
No, no.
it was like I was so ready to start my life with him,
Yeah.
and because it had been so long, I mean, 16 years old, like, by the time we were even 20, it was like, "Okay, we've been together 4 years now, and I'm ready to just get started." He's like, "But we're only 20," and I'm like,
Mm.
"I get it, but, like, the chunk before that just feels so big."
Yeah.
And so it was definitely hard for me to wait. And by the end, I was like, "Look, you gotta do it, or like
Mhm.
we need to figure something out here." I was like, "Because I can't wait that much longer."
Yeah.
Not that I was going anywhere, but I was getting impatient. And I think a month later, he proposed. So my little talk worked, I
Yeah.
guess.
What did your parents think of you, like, being in a super serious relationship at 16? I'm always curious about that.
They actually didn't mind. They loved him. They thought he was
Good.
great.
I'm sure that made it
And
easier.
yeah, definitely. And my mom was, she's like, high school sweethearts get married sometimes. She's like, so I'm not gonna be against it and think that it's, not gonna happen.
Mhm.
So she was just kind of like, don't don't overly like set yourself on this and then it doesn't happen, but
Mhm.
like don't knock it off either because you're only 16.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were pretty good about it.
Yeah. I'm sure it was nice for her to be like, my one baby daughter isn't gonna go through, like, heartbreak, because
Yeah.
I think about that too. Like,
Yeah.
maybe I would want my daughter to just meet one person and then never have to have a broken heart.
Right.
Oh.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so you got married at 23 or just before you said?
Yeah. The week of my birthday.
Oh,
hmm
fun.
Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you been married now?
I think it's 11 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
You look so young that I'm like,
Arielle's
"So
like,
you're
"Holy
25
shit."
now?"
Thank you.
Wow, okay. So tell us about talking through, like, when you're gonna get pregnant now that you're finally married.
Yeah.
You're talking about those things you've been talking about for
Yeah,
6
for years
years.
now. Yeah, I know. So when we first got married, we had a little like 800 square foot apartment. It might not even have been that big. It was
Mm,
tiny. And he had a little car. We called it the Blueberry. It was a Kia, I think like I can't remember, Rio or something like that. Like the tiniest little
mhm.
car. It was stick shift. It smelled like smoke from the person before him. Like it was nasty. And so we started to get like I was like, I'm gonna get married. I want to wait 3 years. Then I want to have three babies by the time I'm 30. And like that was my plan.
Mhm.
And then we get married, and I think like 6 months in, I was like, oh, I'm kind of baby fever. And he's like, yeah, I kind of want a baby too. I was like, but you have this Blueberry car. You can't put a kid in that. Like, that is
Mm,
unsafe for a child. And then I was like, our apartment, we couldn't even fit a crib or a dresser. Like, there's no room
mhm,
in here. We're busting
mhm.
at the seams. I was like, so, we really can't do it right now. Like, we can't fit a baby into our lives at this point. And he's like, I agree. He's like, we should probably be better off financially too. Like, we need to wait. We were both wanted a baby, but we're
Yeah.
like, we need to wait a little while longer. And I think I had also had my gallbladder out in that December.
Mm,
And they're like, it takes 3 months for the stitches to heal, the internal ones to like
okay.
fully disappear. And so I was like, I don't want to do anything until after that's fully gone. And literally, like at the 3 month mark, we had a surprise.
Oh.
And it was just after we had talked about it. So after we were like, okay, let's wait. We're going to
Oh
wait. We're
my
not going to
gosh.
have, a baby for a while. Let's talk about it in, maybe a year, something like that. Like once we are a little better off. And then we got a little surprise and
It all
Oh,
starts.
I
changed
love the
everything. And
surprises.
yeah, we joked that it was God answering the prayer we thought we weren't allowed to ask for.
Yeah.
Because we are like, we can't do this right now, but God
He's
was
like,
like, yes, you
"Watch it."
can.
Yep,
Yeah,
mhm.
go for it. So that was
That's so
how that
cool.
started. Yeah,
That's so exciting. How was that pregnancy?
it was good. Yeah, it was really good. We bought a house in the middle of it, and we're
Wow.
renovating it. Yeah, and it was really easy pregnancy. Like I was sick, I think until like 16 weeks. But then after that, like it it was nothing. I mean, that was probably my easiest one. I was working at a gym at the time, so I was working out all the time. I was in shape. I ran a half marathon while pregnant.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was
You really went for it.
I did. I think I was like
Mhm.
27 weeks too. Ran
Wow.
a half marathon, and I mean walked it mostly, but I like to say ran because it sounds
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
Um
No one's gonna check.
No.
Right? Exactly. I have pictures to prove I crossed the finish line. That's all that matters.
Yes.
And so yeah, that was really like easy on me. I'm like, great, I can do this. This is easy. So after her
Mhm.
even, I was like, let's have a bunch of kids. That was a piece of cake.
Did you guys do any, like, childbirth prep in this pregnancy or, like, have any ideas as a couple of, like, how
Was
we're
the
gonna
plan
have this
still,
baby?
like, I want the epidural?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was, but we had no idea what we were doing
Yeah.
pretty much at that point. I mean, we were so young. We were
Yeah.
still babies. Like I said, we got married at 22, almost 23. I got pregnant at 23 and she was born when I was 24. So we were, still like figuring out marriage and life as adults and all of that. And so I didn't know anything about like labor or birth except like I said what, friends had told me basically. And so we did all of like the hospital classes through Sutter, and that was the extent of it. I did do prenatal yoga my whole pregnancy, and it was very much the instructor taught the Bradley method. And so she would incorporate things
Mm.
into her class. And so I got most of my information from that class. And so it kind of set a little bit of the tone of like
Mhm.
what I carried into other ones because it was like planting that little seed,
Mhm.
when she would talk about like unmedicated birth and how to work through contractions and this and that. She was putting it there even though I wasn't really like
You didn't
picking up.
seek that out, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that was the most preparation I had, but I definitely was not prepared enough for labor going into it.
Hmm. How did that play out in labor?
Um the labor, so it was good, but it definitely led to all the interventions.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
It ended without, C-section or anything like that, so it didn't go that far, but every other little thing they could do along the way, they did. And I didn't really want them, but I also didn't know enough to
Right.
say anything.
Yeah, you just trust that, "Oh, this is the next step." Makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
that was a little bit discouraging afterwards, being like, "Oh, I didn't really know what I was doing here. I definitely didn't prepare for that like I could have or should
Mhm.
have."
Mhm.
But after, like, "Oh, everything is so great," and so, like, they make you think, "Oh, that was easy labor, like, it was a
Yeah.
great birth," and it wasn't until after my second that I even realized, like, "Oh, I didn't actually want any of those
Yeah.
things."
Yeah, it can just happen to
Mhm.
you just
Yeah,
like that if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
aren't informed or don't have, like, an outside opinion
totally.
second guessing.
I used to joke that I had, business hour babies because they were all born during business hours,
Oh,
Oh,
not
interesting.
knowing that that was, like,
a
crafted
thing?
on their well, it was crafted on their side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That the OB was making it happen with the interventions, looking back at my births, like,
Mhm.
she was doing the little interventions here and there to make sure that I had my babies before she got off that day,
Yeah.
and that, like, lit a fire under me when I
Oh, I'm
realized that.
sure.
Yeah.
I was like, "That's so wrong, like, your
Mhm.
timing my labor in my body shouldn't be on your timing."
Yeah.
So,
Did you
Yeah.
go into spontaneous labor with your first?
I did.
How many
Yeah.
weeks were you?
I was 39.
39
Nice.
weeks?
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
how long was that labor?
36 hours.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so
So
that was a
lots
long
of
one.
interventions, epidural.
Mhm. Yeah,
You had the vaginal delivery.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so with her, I was hoping to go all the way to my due date. I actually didn't want her to come early because that house that we bought and we're
Mhm.
renovating, the 2 weeks it was supposed to be to fix up turned into 2 months.
Yep.
Mhm.
And, it was just poorly done, so every time my husband uncovered something new, because he did it himself, it led to a bigger problem, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, now there's a new one and a new one." And so he's like, "I can get us in by your due date." He's like, "Just hold her until then." And I was like, "Okay, well, we'll get through this, get to that date." And I was really hopeful that we would, but then the weekend before, so I think I was doing, like, a Friday, and on Monday, I woke up and I just felt like pressure and pain in my hips. And I texted my friend, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. And she's like, Yeah, I don't think you are either. And all of a sudden, like I think 30 minutes later, contractions just started. And that was it. It was 39 weeks, I think, one day, and she was born the next day. So it was like 39 too when she came. But they started and they were just like slow, far apart. So we just went the whole day, rested. I told my husband, You can go to work. Like, I'll be here, when you need me. And so he went, he had one meeting and then came home. And so we were living at my in laws while we were renovating our house.
Mhm.
And I was still living there when I went into labor. So I hadn't gotten anything ready at all for the baby because I was like, I'm gonna wait till I get in my own home. I'm not
Right.
gonna do anything here. And so I suddenly had to wash all the baby clothes and go through all the things and like full on nesting mode. And that's kind of how I got through early labor
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good
was just
way.
getting everything ready. And then still not much movement. So I went to yoga that night and things picked up after that. So we stopped and picked out paint for the house at Home Depot on the way home. And I remember waddling through Home Depot and being like, I can't close my legs. I was like, look, they don't touch anymore. And I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And we'd stop, have a contraction. But we really wanted the house painted before she came so we could move in.
Yeah, because the
Ugh.
baby really needed. Yeah,
Yeah.
she couldn't go into an unpainted house.
No.
Right?
No.
No. And
Not
so I was like,
appropriate.
we need this house painted. Like, we need to be able to come home to this.
Yeah, she
And
would've judged
so,
you.
right. So we bought the paint, and my father in law went and painted it while I was in labor for us.
Mm.
So then we're like, oh, great, we get to come home and paint a home. But the fumes were so strong, we couldn't go in.
Oh my gosh.
So we stood, after we brought her home, we stood at the front door. I'm like, this is your house. And like showed it to her, and then had to drive back to my in laws.
Oh
I'm
my
sure that was
gosh.
kind of hard in the minute. Like,
Oh, absolutely. My like postpartum emotions
yeah.
were like, this is the end of the world.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I think all
absolutely.
mothers need a landing place that feels
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To nestle in.
And I've actually been at my in-laws bringing home 2 babies.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So I've only had 2 that I actually got to be in my own space postpartum. And so those are extra special.
Yeah,
Because that's
definitely.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Your own space just makes a really big deal.
I
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah.
So with your plan of like 3 kids before 30,
Mhm.
I know you had 4.
Yeah.
And you had 1 earlier than you were planning.
Mhm.
So how did you guys decide how and when to have the next one? Not how, that was a weird question. We know how
Yeah.
to have a baby. But the question I'm trying to ask is when and if you were
Yeah.
going to have the next one.
Yeah, we definitely knew we wanted more. Like that was an easy yes. Especially because she was just so sweet
Mhm.
and pretty easy. So we were like, absolutely. Like my husband jokes, like, let's have 10 of them, you know?
Mm.
And we were never serious about that. And everybody was just like, we could have all the babies. Like, and she was so easy. I didn't realize at the time that it was her, not me. So
Mm.
I'm like, I could do
I'm
this.
such a
This
great
is
mom.
like
Yeah.
great. Yeah. And
That
I'm
is
thinking
so
like,
good.
I know what I'm doing because I nannied before. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I've been doing this for
Yeah, you're
years. Like,
seasoned.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I know what I'm doing. No, it was her. My second
I just
humbled me.
Yep.
I still have a friend that like I apologize to because I remember judging her for
We've all
like her
done it.
kids.
Yes.
And I'm like, they're wild and crazy. And like, here's mine sitting reading a book,
Mhm.
at 2.
You had an
And
eldest daughter,
I
and
did.
so do I. So we're set up for
Yeah,
that
we
getting
are.
humbled
Well, you just
later.
had a boy, right?
Yes.
So you're like really coming into it.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
We need more of that.
Yeah, my second was my first boy, and boy did he humble me.
Oh yes.
So I was like, yeah, we'll have all the babies. And so then my husband was working as a sales manager at a moving company, and the money just wasn't coming in because there wasn't sales. Like people weren't using movers at the time, and so he finally gave in and decided to get a desk job and work at
Mm.
the state. His dad works there, and so he's like, it's a really good job for your family, and he's like, fine, I'll go do it. So when I was like, all right, I'm ready to have another baby, he's like, well, we don't have insurance yet because you're on a 3 months probation period with them.
Oh.
And so you have to wait 3 months to get insurance. And he's like, we can't have a baby until we have insurance. It's considered a pre-existing condition and
Oh.
they won't cover it
Oh my
unless
gosh.
we wait. So I was like, all right, fine. So I waited and waited. And as soon as it hit, like,
You do really well with these 3-month things. 3 months
I
will
know,
go
right?
the hill.
Oh
3
yeah.
months for the insurance.
I didn't realize that. Yeah. Yeah.
Little
Threes
prep
keep coming
time.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to wait. And then insurance kicked in and we're like, all right, let's
Here
go.
we go.
And yeah, and that went pretty easily too. First
Good.
month, we were able to get pregnant with him. And so that's when we were like, yep, we're going to do this again. And
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay. So in that pregnancy, was there anything that you were thinking you wanted to be different with labor, or did you start care with the same OB and kind of go through?
So I started care at the same OB.
Mhm.
I was originally going the same way. And then I think I was like 20 something weeks, and a friend had her baby in this mom group I was in. She had her daughter and she had home birth. And I was talking to her, and we had become friends throughout her pregnancy. We both liked running. And so we would do like a bunch of the moms would get together and go for walks with the kids and sometimes run, without them, stuff like that. And so we'd gotten to like know each other a little bit. So I started talking to her and she's telling me about her home birth and all of this. And it was just like really cool to hear about it. And she's like, read Iname's
Mhm.
Guide to Childbirth. She's like, it will change everything. She's like,
Mhm.
just read this book. Like, I highly recommend it. And I was like, okay, like, sure.
Yeah, that's not gonna hurt.
Yeah, and I was like, "All right," and I read it, and she was right. It actually changed my entire,
Life
like,
changed.
outlook on
Mhm.
birth, yeah, and I started reading them, and I'm like, "You know, if they can do it, I can do it." Like, listen to all these women that
Mhm.
have had babies unmedicated and,
Mhm.
all out of the hospital and everything, like, if they can all do that, I can surely, like, get through labor, right?
Mhm.
'Cause with my first, I only made it to, like, 4 centimeters before I had been up for 24 hours, I had been walking the halls for 3 hours, and I had started throwing up. And at
Mm.
that point, I was like, "I'm
Yeah.
exhausted. I'm done." I, like, didn't prepare well enough to keep going. My husband, I don't think, liked seeing me in labor, so he
Yeah.
was like, "You should get the epidural. You should get it." And so I did. And I had wanted to see how far I could get, but by the time I got there, I was so exhausted. I was like, "I can't keep going." So the second time around, I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna see how far I can go. Like, I'm just gonna keep going until I'm like, I tap out." And so that was my plan going into it. So I paid a little more attention to yoga this time,
Yeah.
took a little more tips from it, like, you
What
know,
exactly again is that breath work? Can you
y-
repeat that?
right? The positions,
Yeah.
oh, this one engages the baby? Okay,
Thank
like,
Mhm.
you. Yeah.
yeah. And so I took all, mental notes this time around.
Mhm.
Totally reminds me of that scene from Bridesmaids when they're, like, at the park, like, dropping in on that workout class, but they're not, like,
Yeah.
a lot they're not really paying for it. You're just at
Yeah, pretty
yoga, be like,
much.
"So, like, if theoretically I was having an unmedicated birth, like, how would you theoretically"
Yeah.
Advise me to
Totally.
yeah.
It was that and through the book, like, the tips,
Yeah.
that she gives in
Yes.
there,
Mhm.
and I made a little note in my phone, and that was where I had everything written down, and that was
Oh my
my,
gosh, Caitlin.
That was
So
your
that was
doula.
cute.
my
That was
it was my doula. It was how I planned to get through labor. And so then I get to the point where I'm at the end of my pregnancy, and he, totally, like, sent me, like, he tricked me. I
Mm.
was 38 centimeters, and
38
or
centimeters.
sorry, I'm sorry, 38 weeks. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Man,
Whoa!
I was 38 weeks,
Yes.
and I was already 3 centimeters.
Wow.
Wow.
And so I was
That
like,
is a mindfuck.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was terrible. And so I was like, they're like, "Oh, I bet I'll see you this weekend." And I'm like, "That's the worst thing you can
I
say." Like,
really
that
don't
was
like
so
when they say
rude.
that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So rude.
it
Yeah.
was. So
Yeah,
I'm
is this
like,
baby just gonna fall out of me? Am I
yeah.
gonna make it in
And
time?
everyone's like, "Oh, your second baby comes so much faster,"
Yeah.
you
So
know?
rude.
Well, and comparing when you got an epidural at 4 centimeters and you're already 3,
Yeah.
like, this is fuck, I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. So I'm like, "Okay, this is gonna be a piece of cake though, right?" Like, if I'm already this far, I've already done half the work I did last time because it was such a
Mhm.
long labor
Yeah.
the first time. I didn't even get to 4 centimeters until 24 hours. And
Wow.
so, like, all that pre-labor was constant contractions though,
Mm.
and I didn't know if it was pre-labor really at the time, so I'm thinking I'm, like, full on in labor, and the hospital's slow, so they let me stay and walk and,
Mm.
but so at this point, I'm like, I already got all that down.
Yeah.
That part's out of the way. But we also had 2, like, big family things going on the month he was born. We had a family wedding where my daughter was the flower girl in Texas,
Oh,
and then
Mm.
my husband's grandma's 90th birthday it was in Riverside.
Wow.
And I was like, "Well, I obviously can't go." So when I was like, "I hope the baby either comes early so I can make it, or we're just gonna have to, like, you guys will have to go without me." So there was this whole stress about the timing of him coming. So when she's
Yeah.
like 38 weeks, he's coming any moment. I'm like, "Perfect. I'll at least, like,
Mhm.
make it to one of them." No, I had to send my daughter with my in-laws to Texas. She was two and a
Oh, you
half.
didn't get to see her be a
Mm-mm,
flower
I didn't
girl.
get to, no, and I didn't get to go with them, like, her first time on a plane, or not first time, but first time she remembered
Yeah.
all of it, so they took her without me and my husband, but it ended up being really nice because we got that weekend all to ourselves, and it was
Yeah.
just, like, that last little, hurrah before he came,
Mhm.
and then I got to actually send her and my husband to Riverside for the 90th birthday and got a whole weekend to myself.
yeah, that's not
Wow.
too bad.
And right? I was actually like, "This is nice." I, like, ordered sushi, sat on the couch watching a
Mm,
movie,
mhm.
Sounds
so it
lovely.
was actually really great, but just played into this whole, like, timing thing
Yeah.
that I was so stressed about timing the whole time, and then she ends up saying that, and he didn't come until 41 weeks.
Hmm.
So I walked around 3 centimeters for 3 weeks there, just waiting any minute
Mm.
for, the ball to drop,
Yeah.
and I unfortunately have prodromal labor every single birth except my 3rd. And so I was at a wedding at 40 weeks and I had labor all night through the whole wedding. And so I'm like, okay, like, let's go home. I think this is
Mhm.
starting. Second I got home, they just
Nothing.
stopped. And by the time I was like 40 weeks, I'm like, okay, and any minute now, or 41 weeks, I was almost there. She's like, well, do you maybe want to, like, do an induction? She called me. She's like, I'm on call tomorrow. I can induce you. And because of all of that, I'm, in that headspace where I'm like, is he ever going to come?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is this baby ever coming?
It
And I
really
keep saying
feels
he, but
like
he was
that.
actually a surprise. I always
Oh.
forget about that. We didn't find out the
Aw.
gender with him.
Oh,
That's
wow.
fun.
But now that he's here, I just am like,
It
I
was him, of
yeah.
course. Yeah.
But we didn't know. So I was like, the baby's never coming. I'm never gonna go into labor,
That
you
is a
know.
forever time to wait when someone told you in a
Yeah.
second.
At 38
Especially
weeks, like, I'll see you in
And
I'll
then
see you this
essentially
weekend.
a whole month
yeah,
later.
especially after having my first early.
Yeah.
Like she came at, I
Yeah.
went into labor at 39 weeks.
This is
So
the
I'm like,
longest
oh,
you've ever
this is
been
normal.
pregnant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the longest 3 weeks of my
Yeah.
life. And
Absolutely.
so I was like, okay, any day now, and just nothing. So then she's like, do you want to be induced? And I didn't say anything. I just like froze up on the phone because I knew I didn't want that,
Mhm.
but I wasn't very good at advocating for myself at the time. So I just kind of froze. And she's like, it's okay. We don't have to. She's like, why don't you come to your 41-week appointment on Friday and we'll talk then? She's like, it's Labor Day this weekend. I'm going to be on call. She's like, we can also do it then. And I was like, okay, like I feel peace about that. So I told my husband, I was like, I didn't want to do it tomorrow. That just came up way too fast. I was like, but I do feel good about if he's not here doing it this weekend because like now I know he's at least coming. Like I have a date that if he doesn't come on his own, like the baby's at least gonna be born. And it just
Mhm.
took that pressure off of me. And that was Thursday that she had wanted to induce. I went to yoga that night. Contractions started after, and he was born Friday. I think I just needed that like mental,
Yeah.
like let go.
Yeah.
And then my body was like, okay, let's do it. And so he was
Mhm.
born on 41 weeks on
On
the
the
dot.
dot?
hmm
Aw.
How was that labor?
It was great. That was my best one. He was my biggest baby and my easiest labor. I went to yoga the night before. I started having contractions when I got home, but I always have contractions after stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
'cause like I said, I get pajama labor with all of them. So I was like, I'm not gonna think too much into this. Woke up a ton that night. There was a thunderstorm, and he was born in May, end of May. So it was like
Oh,
super
wow.
random.
Mhm.
My dog was barking all night 'cause of the thunder. My daughter woke up crying. I like had to get pee, all the things. And
Mhm.
so I was just like waking up a ton. And I realized after a while that I was having a contraction every single time I woke up.
Wow.
And so then
Mhm.
around 6 in the morning, I realized they were starting to wake me. And I was like, okay, I'm actually being woken up by the contraction now. So I was like, I'm gonna get up and see like where this goes. And I went, and my house was all dark and it was raining, so it was like quiet
So
and peaceful.
cozy.
It was so nice. And I had like the birth ball out, and I started reading Anime's book again. And I was just reading through the birth stories while like bouncing on the
Mhm.
ball, timing contractions. And I went in and I finally looked at my husband. I was like, hey, I think like I might be in labor. And I don't remember what he said, but he kind of snapped at me because he wanted to go back to sleep. And I was like, you need to call work. Like, you might be having a baby today.
Mhm.
And he's like, wait, what? And like, snap.
He was, like, half asleep before,
Oh,
like, leave
100%.
me
So he was like
alone. Yeah.
annoyed.
Yeah.
And he's like, when am I going to know? I'm like, I don't know, but like, get up and get with
Yeah.
it,
That has been a common theme
Yep.
of
Has
of
it?
women
Mhm.
coming in and wake up with their husbands, and they're like, "Shh."
Yeah.
Go back to sleep.
He slept through a lot of the fourth one too.
Mhm. That's
And he
yeah.
worked all through my third.
Yeah.
That would have done all on my own because he was
Oh my
working. And I was like, oh, I'm
gosh.
not in labor. Um, So yeah, he's a wonderful partner in labor. Like he does an amazing job. And so I can't like diss on him too badly, but until I'm like, no, I need you, he's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do everything else.
Yeah.
So he did. He got up, he took out the trash,
Oh, yeah,
he
that's
like
what they
cleaned the
do, and
house,
and that's that whole joke, like, in times of crisis, they're gonna go and, like
Mow the
do the
lawn.
yard
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
I took a shower. I'm still timing contractions. I like did my makeup. I went to do my hair and I was like, no, we're getting like the contractions are getting too close together. I think we need to go. My daughter woke up. She was all excited. And so she's like talked to my belly. And then we waited. My mom came and stayed with her. And we left for the hospital. I think we got there about 10. I was 5 or 6 centimeters.
Wow.
And I just told them, I was like, I want to go until I can't anymore. And they're like, okay, great. Like, I love that you're not holding on to it really hard, but that you have a goal. And I'm like, cool. And so I kept waiting for them to ask for my birth plan because I did make one this time. I had preferences because of last time that I'm like, okay, I
Mhm.
don't want anyone to break my water. I don't want any interventions if I don't had to. Because the first time they broke my water, they gave me Pitocin, they did all of the things. And so I was like, I don't want any of it unless it's necessary. So I had a whole birth plan written out and nobody asked for it. And like I said, I didn't know to advocate yet. So I'm waiting. Like, when's somebody gonna ask me? Like, do you have a birth plan? Do you have preferences? Do you want anything? And so I didn't say anything. And so I was just kind of laboring along and like doing my thing. And the OB comes in and she's like, okay, we're gonna do cervical check. I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh wow, you're 8 centimeters. And I was like, awesome. And she's like, I'm gonna break your water. I just broke it.
Oh, that's
Like,
so
didn't even say
wrong.
Oh
anything.
my
Like, well, she said something.
gosh.
That's all she said.
She
Like,
said as
I'm
she
gonna
was
break
doing
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it made me even more mad later because she actually nicked his head. And, like, he has a scar
Oh
from I
my
mean, he has hair, so you
gosh.
can't see it, but he has a scar from where she cut his head with the tool when she broke my water because he was so low. But I was like, oh, I didn't even say anything or do anything. Like, I just froze because I was so unprepared for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it just took me so by surprise. And then things, like, picked up so quickly after that. Um, I think that was, like, 12 something, and contractions kept going, like, speeding up, and then all of a sudden, I was like, "Okay, I'm, like, feeling kind of" I didn't know it was pushy at the time, but, like, I was like, "I'm feeling, like, pressure in my hips, like, I feel like they're being ripped apart." And so they're checked, like, "Oh, yeah, you're 10 centimeters, like, don't do anything yet, let's wait for the doctor." And I'm like, "I'm 10 centimeters, I'm unmedicated, I'm not waiting for anybody." And I just remember being thinking they're like, "Don't push," and I was like, "Well, I'm not gonna push, but I'm not gonna stop either," because my body was starting to at this point.
Mhm.
And I was like, "The bed's soft, like, he's
Yeah.
not gonna get hurt if he lands on it."
Mhm.
And the second she came in, I, like, flipped on my back, and I was like, I need a goal here, how many pushes? And, like, when is like, give me an idea of what I need to do to get him out." She's like, "2 pushes, he's out, he's right there." I'm like, "Great." So I push, and all of a sudden I'm like, "I can't." My son's like, "Yes, you can, you've got this." And I was like, "No, he's stuck." And so she used her finger and just, like, popped his head out, and that was it. He came right out, but he had, like, the little shape on his head, and I remember
Mm.
feeling so guilty of that, like, his head wasn't perfectly round, which is so silly.
You can stop that.
Yeah, right? But I remember, like, crying over it
Of course.
postpartum, But he came right out, and so it was just, like, start to finish was, um, under 9 hours, I
Wow.
think, which is such a contrast to 36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got there at 10 a.m. at, like,
Mhm.
in active labor, and then what
Yeah,
time was he born?
2:20.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I only pushed for less than 10 minutes, because I have pictures of me, like, laboring on the bed at 2, and he was born or 2:05, and he was
Yeah.
born at 2:20.
So in
So
comparison to your daughter's birth, like, you had, little intervention, but you still weren't, like,
yeah.
heard or listened to. What did that influence for your third?
Yeah, I didn't realize how much it bothered me. I didn't actually think about it too much that I wasn't listened to because there was also we didn't want to do the eye drops.
Mhm.
And they told me he was gonna go blind if I didn't.
Mm.
And all the stuff they used all the fear tactics to
Mhm.
coerce us into doing it. And I left the hospital and I looked at my husband like, what happened? I was like, there was things that we decided ahead of time that like and none of it happened.
Yeah.
Nobody listened to a thing we wanted.
Yeah.
I was I just felt like I didn't even know what happened there.
Mhm.
And
It's kind of a
so,
grody.
yeah, it was terrible, but it wasn't like a full I need to do something different next time moment. It was just it was the start of it. It
Mhm.
was like
Mhm.
I feel uncomfortable, but I don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so then, my third I get pregnant and that's right in the middle of COVID and people start having all of the issues with not being in their husbands not being in the room and
Mhm.
masks while they're laboring and this and that. And I was like, one, I'm not laboring with mask, like absolutely not doing that. Because at that point I was like, I know I want, unmedicated was great with
Mhm.
him. Like my second, it was so easy. It was so wonderful being able to just like go all the way. It wasn't until 8 centimeters. So like with that one real quick, it wasn't until 8 centimeters that I was like, this is hard. It didn't get hard until that point. Like they were all manageable. It was just so not easy because it's obviously hard, but in comparison to where 4 centimeters was with my daughter, I didn't feel that kind of like, I think because I had prepped this time, I didn't feel out of control until 8 when I started feeling my hips and all of that. But even then, I was able to just keep breathing through it. And I was like, I can do this. Like that
Mhm.
one felt totally manageable. So I was able to do it completely unmedicated. And that was like the most empowering feeling ever. Like that was so great. I loved it. So third time around, I'm like, yeah, we're going to do that again. And in that, I'm like, I breathe through every contraction. I'm not wearing a mask. So then when things started getting even crazier, we had a friend who tested positive for COVID. It was a false positive, and her husband wasn't there for the birth. They wouldn't let
Oh
him in.
my gosh.
And so she had her first baby without her
I'm
husband
so
in there.
sad.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'd rather have my baby in the parking lot and then walk in after.
Yeah.
And so we started looking around at other options at birth centers. And it was at that time, it was just a backup plan. And so it wasn't even the fact that like I hadn't been listened to yet. It was just COVID. And then we, did a video tour of one birth center. And I was like, okay, great, but like didn't feel, didn't stand out anything to
Yeah.
me. So then I had a couple friends be like, you need to go tour the new birth center, like it's California Birth Center. And I'm like, okay. We met with Kaleem, who was the director at the time. And it was just like, I like left in tears. I was like, I didn't know that those things bothered me so much when she started telling me like you have informed consent here. Like, we will
Mhm.
tell you and you get to make the decisions. And, you don't have to have any of these things. And we're not going to fight you on it. And, in fact, we're going to support you and like help you make the right decision. And I left and I was like, that's where we need to
Mhm.
have this baby. Like, that, it just was the biggest blessing that I came across almost on accident. Like, it was like I said, it was supposed to be my backup plan. And after I went there, I was like, no, this is exactly where this baby's supposed to be
How many
born.
weeks are we now?
I was in my 20s,
Okay.
20 something. But I at the time was like, okay, well, they were trying to bill insurance. And so I was like, I'm
Oh,
going
yeah.
to try and go through insurance, and I fought insurance because they're like in there the wording is you can use an outstanding birth center if there's none that your insurance like is contract with your insurance. And so I was like, okay, outstanding birth center. Well, Sutter actually has their delivery wings named birth centers.
Oh, so that you
So,
can't say that.
yeah.
Like Davis, isn't that called Sutter
Mhm.
Davis is a birth center?
Yeah. So they fought me
Tricky.
and fought me on it. I did every appeal, everything I could, and they're like, "Sorry, we're not going
Mm.
to change." And so I was like, "What do we do?" And my husband's like, we have the money. If you would like to do the birth center," he's like, "That's on you. Like, I'm willing to do whatever you want to do in this." And I was just so torn because I felt horrible using our money that we had saved up for something that I could get done for free, but I also
Mhm.
didn't feel comfortable going to a hospital anymore. And I like prayed and prayed and prayed about it. And I was talking to somebody and they're like, sometimes like God doesn't give you an answer, that's the answer. Like sometimes he
Mm.
doesn't say this is what you should do. Sometimes when he doesn't say no, he's allowing you to choose. And if that's what you feel like you should be doing or where you want to be, if God's not telling you no, then go for it.
Mhm.
And so on New Year's Eve, I was like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to do the birth center. We called the next day. And so at 35 weeks was when I
Wow.
ended up signing on with the birth
Wow.
center and yeah, and started my care there.
Okay, and then when did you go into labor? How many weeks of care did you have with them?
Yeah, he has a due date baby.
Oh,
So I had 5. Yeah,
yeah.
technically. My due date when I like calculated it before was March 2nd, but when they did the first ultrasound, they changed it to March 3rd. And so he was born at like 8 p.m. on March 2nd. So I still
Okay.
consider him a due date baby. I'm like,
Mhm.
well, you're 4 hours short of theirs and you were on mine. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, so
It's
right
fine.
at 40 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had only 5 weeks of care with them.
Mhm.
Technically 4 because I missed the
Yeah.
40-week appointment to have the
Right.
baby.
Yes.
Yeah,
Wow.
so I didn't get very much, but it was just
I'm sure
night
you
and
felt the
day.
difference. Yeah.
Yeah. When being in COVID, like my husband didn't get to get the heartbeat, he didn't get to any ultrasounds or
Yeah.
anything. So the very first appointment at the birth center, they pulled out the Doppler, he got to hear the baby's heartbeat, and that was just that in itself was, just so
So special and
yeah.
worth it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so crazy how that was taken away from so many
Mhm.
parents.
And like I was a third time mom at that point. But I just, like, felt so bad for the first-time moms who this
Mhm.
is their first time doing it and having to do it all alone, like, every OB appointment my husband came to all of them.
Yep.
He went to every OB appointment with me, he did everything, and with my second, I brought my daughter to everything, so, like, I had her little umbrella stroller with some toys and, that first kid thing, like, she just sat quietly at
Yes.
all the
Those
appointments.
perfect first
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
And so she went to all of them, but by the third, I had to find babysitters and nobody could
Mm.
come. And I had to like work around everybody else's schedule just to be
Yeah.
seen by an OB. I remember skipping an appointment because I was like, none of your dates work for me. I can't do it. So we're just going to skip that one altogether. And then, like calling after a while, be like, hey, you haven't showed up in a while. I was like, oh,
Like, well, what am
yeah.
I
Like,
supposed to do?
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Just the childcare aspect was a big issue for
Yeah.
a lot of people in that time.
Yeah. It was hard to do. But
Yeah.
by the time we were able to get to the birth center, we're like, okay, like, now we've gotten the childcare thing figured out, so now we can at least go and just have these moments, the two of us. So we got to at least come to all of them,
Mhm.
even if we didn't have the kids there. But I didn't have to worry about them at that point, so that was
Yeah.
still kind
I
of nice.
remember my first appointment there because, as we discussed earlier, ours are, I guess, almost 2 months apart because
Yeah.
mine was end of April. But I remember the first appointment where my husband was there and my daughter.
Hmm.
And I was like, it's just like
Yeah.
so much relief
Yeah.
from
Like
that
if you
because,
didn't have
yeah,
childcare, you knew they could come.
yeah.
Like that was the thing. It was
Mm-hmm.
like we had it worked out, but if I hadn't, or if something came up, I didn't have to stress about it or cancel. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. They're like, great, bring them. Like we have some toys here. They can
Yeah.
play on the floor, and they included them in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, birth care should be family care because it
absolutely.
is like it's happening to everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to have that with my fourth, which was like so special the whole
Mm-hmm.
time. And yeah, so I absolutely think that it should be, everyone should be
Mm-hmm.
included in it. That's a really
Yeah.
cool thing to have.
So
Okay.
how,
Yeah.
yeah.
How does labor
How
start?
did you go into labor?
Yeah. Um, So again, pajama labor, really fun, like a few times
Mhm.
going. But because I'm used to pajama labor, I don't say anything to anyone anymore. Um, we really wanted a March baby. My mom passed away 6 months before I got
Oh,
pregnant with Rhett.
wow.
And yeah, she was March 22nd. And so
Mm.
like I prayed really hard for a March baby. I was like, I need joy back in this month
Mhm.
because it's lost it for me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I want a baby born in March. And
Mhm.
so when I got pregnant with him and was due in the beginning of March, I was like, okay, like God's answering this prayer. But I was like, but that's only 3 days into March. Like, we got to make sure this happens.
Yeah.
And so I did like nothing. I was like as like calm and like city as I
Mhm.
could be. Although I say calm, my pregnancy with him was the most stressful like 9 months of my life. I do have to say that. Everything
Mm.
in our lives was just flipped upside
Mm.
down. And so I probably wasn't calm at all. But I was trying to just not do anything to bring labor on.
Mhm.
And then I think it was like February 28th, I started having some contractions and I was like, cool, it's late enough at night. It's like 8 p.m. I'll make it till midnight for sure. Like, I don't care if I go into labor at this point. And then they died off. And then Monday, same thing. And I think I was at Trader Joe's and I was like, oh, that's kind of like an intense contraction. And I'm driving home with the kids. I'm like, but I'm fine. Like, it's not continuing. We're good.
Yeah.
I went to a meeting that night and I'm sitting in the meeting and I'm starting to get a little panicky because the contractions are getting really intense. And I had to go to the bathroom really bad. I just had to pee. And I don't know if it's like peeing makes the contractions come or if like the full bladder if like the contractions make your bladder like feel more full. I
Mm.
wasn't sure
Mhm.
which one was causing it, but I was like, I need to pee and I don't know where the bathroom is in this place. And it's a very serious meeting. Like they're
Oh.
talking all this COVID like stuff. I can't interrupt. And so I'm sitting here trying to just like stay calm, and the whole time I'm not listening to a word that's being said.
No,
I'm
of
thinking, how
course
am I
not.
going to drive myself home or
I'm
to
in
the birth
labor.
center?
My baby's
Yeah,
coming.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do I do now? And my friend told me later, she's like, I was sitting there watching you, thinking like I might have to drive her to the birth center tonight. And finally, I was like, found a break, and I was like, "Where's the bathroom?" And as soon as I went to the bathroom, my bladder was empty. The contractions just like faded off, and I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, we're
We're
good. I
okay.
can go home now." And so I did, and then had them all throughout the night. Woke up to a really painful one the next morning, but was still completely in denial because
Mhm.
trauma labor does that. Like
Mhm.
it just comes and goes whenever it wants. I'm
Yeah.
like, it's not labor. But I was like, well, I did a pickup order from Target and I was like, I'm gonna send my husband just in case. Like this way I have what I needed. And so I send him, he comes back and I had a play date that day and I was like, I'm still gonna go. And he's like, no, I think you need to cancel it. Like you should cancel. He's like, we're 30 minutes away from where you're going. If you get stuck out there with 3 kids in labor, like that's not gonna be fun. Can you just reschedule? And I'm like, fine. So I finally rescheduled and I'm timing contractions. They're still coming, like all throughout
Mhm.
the day, but they're like 7 minutes apart, 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart. They're all over the place. And I got so discouraged. I was like, I'm not going to time them. And so I just would stop and I tried to take a nap, but my kids talked my ear off the
Mhm.
whole time. And then I was like sitting on the floor at one point and I was like, oh, and they're like, what's wrong? And I was like, I don't feel good. And I just am frustrated. And they're like, I'm sorry, mom. And it's my mother in law's birthday, by the way.
Mm.
So I'm like, okay, let's get the house picked up for her birthday. And my daughter's like, can we please decorate? And I'm like, okay. Because we're living with my in laws at this point. We sold
Oh,
our
that's right.
house.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, backstory to that is like, we sold our house in COVID, but it was right before the market like blew up.
Ah,
So our house went right away, but then we couldn't find one. And we had to go move in with my in-laws with our 2 kids and I'm pregnant and my husband, is like, okay, great, I have to live with my parents again. But we were so thankful that they were willing to take us in. And
yeah.
I was like, we're not gonna be here long. We're not gonna be here long. We were there for a year and a half.
Wow.
And so we're living at my in-laws' house and I'm like, okay, well, yeah, we'll decorate for her birthday. So we did streamers and balloons and all of that.
While you're
And
having
like,
contractions.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so after I like threw my little tantrum on the floor, and I got up and I texted a friend and I was like, would you pray for me? I'm feeling so discouraged. I didn't expect pajama labor like this with my third baby. I really just need like some encouragement. And she didn't just say, okay, I'm praying for you. She like wrote the prayer out in the text.
Mhm.
And I just felt it so much. I was like, okay, I can do this. I got up, I ordered dinner. We were having, picking up dinner for everybody. Everyone was coming over. I told my husband, I was like, hey, I'm gonna have you go pick up the dinner. Will you take the kids? And he's like, sure. So he got off work and took the kids. And all throughout the day, I kept going in to see where he was because I was like, okay, I'm still having contractions. They're kind of intense. Like,
Mhm.
if I had stopped him and focused on contractions, I'm convinced maybe we would have come a lot earlier.
Mm.
But I was like, no, I'm not in labor. I'm not in labor because I went in. He wouldn't even look up from the computer.
Mm.
And not to be like rude or anything, but he was so like into. He's like, I'm so busy today. I'm
Yeah.
swamped. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, are you in labor? I was like, no, I'm not in labor. I'm like, no.
No.
I was like, I'm having
Push her back.
contractions,
Yeah.
but I'm fine. I'm fine. And because like
I could just imagine like you coming in with like bloody show, for example, like gonna show him and then
no, yeah, right.
No,
That's
your state job
that's
is more
pretty much
important.
it, right? I would walk in, I was like evaluating things, and I'm like, nope, not labor. Walk out.
It's
Because
not time.
the thing was he was taking. So this was the start of the lineman stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He was working for the state, but he knew he wanted out, and so there was some like workplace drama that he's like, not for me. I'm
Yeah.
done. I need something different. And he's like, I think I'm going to go to lineman school. It'd be a really good career for us. Like, I'm going to do this. Well, it was either right before I gave birth or right after. And so this whole pregnancy, we're just waiting to find out when he gets in. He applied, and then we had to find out which class they're going to put him in.
Mm.
And so I knew that he was using his baby leave from work to go to lineman school.
Mm.
So I'm like, I can't have a false labor start because that
Yeah.
takes a day that I get him home. So if I say I'm in labor and I'm not in labor and he just used one of his days off for it, that's a whole less day I get once baby's actually here.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like in super denial that I was in labor because I'm like, I'm not going to use one of these days up because he's planning to use all of them to go to school.
You're like, this baby will
You're
be
carrying so
crowning
much.
Yeah.
before I tell you.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that because I want as much time as I can get with you before you go off to school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, no, we're good, you know, walk back out. And I'm like, I'm gonna start decorating. So the kids and I like pick up the house. I'm like, go get the food, take the kids with you. And he does. And so he leaves. It's like 5:30, right? And I start like hanging streamers. I'm on a chair, hanging streamers,
Caitlin,
putting balloons up, like decorating. And at this
were
point,
you blowing up balloons?
I don't think I blew up the balloons. I
Okay.
hate blowing up balloons, so I'm sure I made somebody
I
else
feel
do
like
that.
your water would have broken
Right?
like, that pressure.
No. And so, but I do. I was like, I was on a chair. I was hanging streamers, doing all, and I'm like, I feel great at this point. I'm like getting through it. I got my second wind.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, everything's all decorated. The house is all clean. I'm gonna go take a shower. And so I'm in the shower and I'm like feeling good. And I'm like leaning through. I was like doing lunge like through contractions though, because like they're getting stronger, but I'm not realizing still what's going on.
I'm not in
Like I was
labor.
so oblivious to this. And I was just at that point I just was feeling too good to notice that, you know, these are full on contractions.
Wow.
And so I like finish my shower, I get out, and all of a sudden I'm like, that was a lot of contractions. Like that was quite a few. So I'm like, maybe I should start timing them. And I, you know, do what you do when you're unsure of something. I get on Facebook group and
Of
I'm like,
course.
I haven't lost my mucus plug, which I did with both my other labors.
Okay, so that was kind of your
Yeah.
usual like.
So
Okay.
I'm like, I can't be in labor because I haven't lost my mucus plug. That was literally what I kept saying all day to myself. I'm like, I can't be. I haven't had the signs I usually have. And so it's not labor, right?
Mhm.
And so I get on and I look at people like, yeah, you can do it without not lose it or lose it without noticing, like not lose it to the end, whatever. And so like you might be in labor. And I'm like, okay. All right, maybe this is labor. And my husband gets home with the food and he walks in. I'm in the middle of a contraction and he goes, are you okay? And I just don't answer. And he's like, you're not okay. And he's like, okay. Okay. And like everyone's shocked because I didn't tell anybody because here I'm like, it's not labor. So I'm not going to say anything.
The kids
And
know all day.
yeah, right. Because they were too young to like realize. So they're just like,
Other than like, Mom, are you okay?
yeah, except checking on me when I'm like laying on the floor, like, oh, what's going
Yeah.
on, you know,
Mhm.
frustrated. So I'm like, okay, like, yeah, maybe I'm in labor. And he's like, you should call the midwives. And I'm like, okay, because we're in West Sac. And we drive all the way to
Okay.
Rockland.
Mm.
And so I call them and I'm like, hey, I think I'm in labor. Like contractions are maybe like 5 minutes apart ish. I'm not really timing them. But they're getting more intense and I think I want to come in. And they're like, okay, like let's meet at 7. It's probably like 6ish. And I'm like, yeah, that works. And I'm like, okay, see you then. I like hang up the phone. I start doing my makeup and like getting ready. My daughter comes in. She's like, will you put on a dress and we can dress up for Grammy's birthday? And I'm like, actually, I think baby's coming. And she's like, oh my goodness. And, you know, all excited. And so then we go out and we tell my in-laws like, hey, I'm in labor and we're going to leave now. And they're like, wait, what?
Happy birthday.
Yeah. We're like,
The
I'm
house is
sorry.
ready for you.
Everyone has dinner out, everything. And I'm like, I'm sorry I'm missing your birthday dinner, but we're going to go. Can you watch the 2 kids? Because we're leaving now.
Oh my
We just like left the
gosh.
kids there. And I was finishing up. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go, you know, finish up. We're going to leave. And I go in and all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, I need to push. And I look at my
You're
husband.
not at the birth center yet.
No, I'm in West Sac still.
Just checking.
And I start to feel the urge to push, and I was like, I waited too long, and I start to panic. And because I was still just doing things. I mean, I had a few big contractions where I'm like gripping things, and like I remember snapping at my husband at one point, which is like for me a telltale sign. I
Mhm.
only snap like right at the end of transition-ish, so I should have known.
You should.
But
He should have known.
he
Like,
should have
okay,
known,
there it
right?
is. Yeah.
Yeah. And but I think even I've been told I'm very kind and labor, like very nice. That's why I think even my snapping isn't mean enough for him
Yeah.
to have noticed that I
Yeah.
was actually snapping him. But to me, I was like so frustrated in the moment that
Yeah.
I knew it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm like, help me get dressed quick. Like we need to leave. So I have him like put my clothes on because I can't even put them on
Oh
at
my
this point. The
gosh.
contractions are just starting to
Mhm.
come. We get in the car and I text them and I'm like, on the way, can you get the birth tub ready? And I was GBS positive and I was going to do antibiotics because that's what I had known from the hospital because I was positive with both the other two. And they're like, okay, well, we want to do your IV first, but we'll have it ready when you get here. And I was like, great, thanks. And then they don't hear from me again. And they're like, ETA? And I was like, 20 minutes. Like, that's all I could text. We get in the car, we start driving, and about Natomas,
Mm.
so like 15-ish minutes in, my water breaks
In the car.
in the front seat of the car. And the funny thing is, I had argued with my husband getting which car to take. I wanted my Subaru because I had heated seats. And I was like, that'd be really nice in labor. So I was mad at him for not taking it. And he's like,
Mhm.
no, I put the car seat in the other car. We're taking that one. And I was mad. And it turned out to be a really good thing because I don't have leather seats. So it was a good, easy
He
cleanup.
knew.
Yeah. But I'm like, my water just broke. And he just goes silent. And he goes, you're sitting on my jacket. Is my wallet and earbuds okay? And I reach underneath me. I'm like, yeah, they're dry. And I hand them to him. I was like, but your jacket's not.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so I'm like soaked now. And we're both freaking out. He's going like
Yeah.
90 miles an hour.
Natomas is far
Yeah,
from
it is.
like Rockland.
Yeah. Yeah. And like third baby here. Like, we're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is happening. And so he's racing. And the whole time, all I'm thinking is, what if we get pulled over? Like,
Mhm.
I
It
don't want to get pulled
happens.
over. I can't get stopped. If we have to keep going.
Mhm.
And he's like, I would just keep driving. And they're like, yeah, you just call 911. The dispatchers will call them and tell them what's going on, and they'll actually escort you to where you're going. I'm like,
Oh, good
good
to
to
know.
know.
Yeah.
So he's driving there as fast as we can. We get there. I think Rhett was born at like 8 o'clock, so it was probably about 7:30.
Mhm.
We get to the birth center, and they're all waiting for me at the door.
Mhm.
And they're like, we were worried you like we were gonna have a parking lot baby. They're like, we don't normally wait at the door for people. And I get there and they have like a chair. I'm like, no, I just want to walk. I just want to get in. Like, okay. And so they all like usher me into the, room. And she's like, do you want to start your IV? Like, you need to do that before you can get in the tub. And she's like, honestly, though, I don't think any of it will actually get in your system and do anything. So if you want to skip it. And I was like, yes, please. And so I just like jumped in the tub. And as soon as I got in there, I just like relaxed. Like,
Mm.
it was the most peaceful thing ever. And that's all I wanted was a
Mhm.
peaceful birth.
Mm.
We were passing the hospital on the way there. My husband's like, you sure? He's like, I can get off here. I was like, no, keep going. I was like, if we went there, especially in that like short of a time, they would have assumed I was COVID positive because that was the policy back then.
Mm.
They would have treated me as if I was, separating my husband. I wouldn't have listened to anything I had to say. And so I was like, no, absolutely not. Like,
Mhm.
keep driving. And so we get to the birth center, and like I said, I get in, and I all of a sudden was like, that was easy. Like, I haven't pushed me out yet, but I'm like, that was just so much easier than the others because I just went so quick. And I was like laughing with him and like joking and smiling. I remember Marlene going, this is the sign of a third time mom. Like, she's
Mhm.
about to have him and she's totally calm. And
Mhm.
and I was about to send him to go get my chapstick because I was really mad he didn't grab my bag. And my mouth just felt so dry. And I was like, all right, after the next contraction. And then that contraction came and I was like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore. And I just was like, I'm going to push. And so I did.
Wow.
And 3 pushes, same contraction, just 3 pushes, head, shoulders, body, and he was out. I remember reaching
Wow.
down and Becca like pushed him into my hands and I pulled him up onto my chest,
So
and
cute.
that was that. Like, it was done. And I was like, okay, that was even better than
Wow.
the others. Yeah.
I love that story. That's just like such a classic. Doing something all day. Okay, I gotta finally accept that I'm in labor.
Right.
And then didn't like the birthday party entourage
Oh yeah, they all came.
all came like after the baby was born?
Yeah.
The whole
Yep.
room.
My
I'm sure your
mother-in-law,
mother-in-law-
father-in-law, my sister-in-law, and my 2 kids all showed up just before midnight.
Oh my
all
gosh.
like hustle into the little room to meet. Hey, Rhett.
Yeah.
I keep I get those ones mixed up.
They're all the same after a certain amount.
Well, they look alike too. So those
Oh,
two look like they could be twins.
Wow.
Just with the age gap now. But when they were born, everybody's like, "Oh, you just had the same baby."
wow.
And so it's especially hard talking about their birth stories that like I get them names mixed
Yeah.
up. But yeah, everyone came and that was really important to me because of everything with the birth center.
Yes.
Ellie came when Colt was born, my second. She
Mm.
came to the hospital. She got to come meet him right away, like the day he was born, sit in the bed with me. She announced his name to the family. And so it was just like this big thing for me. And I always say that like meeting my babies was wonderful, but watching my kids meet each other
Yeah.
was the absolute best moments of my life. Like that was hands down the best part of all of their births was watching them meet each other and the excitement that they had. And so when she got to do it with Colt and I had the possibility of not getting to have that again, I was like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
So that was another big thing with the birth center was that they all got to come and meet him right away. And so they did. They came
Yeah.
just before midnight, so technically the day he was born. And they all got to come and snuggle in bed with me. And Ellie really wanted to help with the newborn exam. So they let her put on her stethoscope and do it with them and be a part of it. And then they went home and went to bed. And we packed up our things and followed after them.
Wow.
Such a pretty story.
Yeah.
I love it.
My
Yeah.
favorite part is that I waited too long.
Yeah.
Just love that. It's so real.
I know. I just was not expecting that. All of a sudden, I was like, oh no.
Oopsie.
Whoops.
I love
What
that
did I
you still
do?
had your like 30 minutes too to like ground yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of just like walk. I mean, either way would have been great, but like
Yeah.
walking in and having a baby, you got to like have a moment.
I did, which was really nice because, like I said, all I wanted was a peaceful birth. I was like, I just want it to be calm and peaceful. Like, that was all I was requesting in this one.
I bet that drive was so stressful.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible. But literally, the second I got in the tub, it was like everything was just gone. It was just the most calm thing. I mean, the room was dark and
Yeah.
quiet, and everyone just sat there. Like,
Mhm.
nobody talked to me. Not in a bad way. I mean, we did talk. Like, I was chatting, and like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why, but in the end of labor, apparently I like am totally fine. Where I 20 minutes ago was like focused on contractions. With my fourth too, like I chat during the last couple contractions, but
Yeah.
So
so
wild.
I was just
Talent.
like, I don't know what it is, but it's
You're like,
something.
the job is done. I'm taking a break till I
Yeah.
get to the next one.
Yeah, I was talking through like, well, not through the contractions. Like I stopped the contraction and then in between, like when I get to Hanks, like I was literally like having conversations, and they're like, okay, like that's
You're like,
nice.
we can worry about the grocery list later,
Yeah.
Caitlin.
Well, I was actually nerding out because I could feel my water bag. I like reached down to feel his head,
Oh
and
my
water hadn't
gosh.
broken yet. And I was like, "This is so cool! I can feel the amniotic sac." I'm like, "That is like the coolest thing," because I really love birth, and I like nerd out on that.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was like a big deal. Like, this is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone else is like, "That's cool, Caitlin."
That's nice. Yeah.
Nobody else cared.
Oh my gosh.
I would care.
I know you
That
would.
would feel so. I can't wait.
That was the coolest feeling. Like, I just can't explain it. That was just the neatest
Yeah.
thing for me.
Yeah, I
But-
felt a bulging water bag before, and it is like nothing like it.
Yeah.
Like, not a water balloon, not
No.
like, there's nothing like it. There's just like this, like, firm, buoyant
Yeah.
pressure. Yeah,
It's
it's
just
so wild.
crazy, yeah.
And then knowing that there's all of that in there, it's
Yeah.
just,
It was
What
really
was
cool.
coming out of me with my last? Remember where you were like, "That's the hair," and then we were like, "That's not hair." It was like, was it my bag
Yeah.
hanging?
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not a cool feeling.
Yeah.
I reached down and I was like, nope.
Well, with
Don't need
Rhett,
to feel that.
I was like, I tried to do the same thing as my second. I was like, I'm a goal oriented person. Like, I
Yeah.
need you to tell me how many I have, and that will
Mhm.
get me through, and I can do it. Even if the goal isn't like the reality,
Yeah.
I just need to think that it is. And so I remember saying to Marlene, like, okay, how long till he's here? Like, how close am I? And she's like, well, reach down and feel. And I was like, okay. The
Such
stuff
a
was all still
midwife
new,
answer.
right? It was
Mhm.
still like newish to me. So I was like, okay. So I did. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's right there.
Aw.
And like, I thought that was so cool.
So healing of like, this is your body. You're allowed
Yes, exactly. It's
touch
like
yourself.
so different
Yeah.
from my last one where like nobody listened to me
yeah.
for anything. And then this one I get to like catch my baby and like bring him
Yeah.
up, And so like I felt, and I was like, oh, he's right there. Okay, I can do this. Like
Mhm.
he's super close. And so I tried to keep my hand there during a contraction, and I was like, oh no, I don't like that. It just like felt like everything was like ripping apart, and I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And so
So don't
that
leave
one,
me that close to that.
yeah, I was
No.
like,
do you
I'm
see me
not.
getting like visibly uncomfortable?
I pushed really hard with him because I was just done.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
because it went so fast, I didn't get to mentally get in the right space. That's why my seconds
Mhm.
is my favorite.
Yeah.
Because it went just at the perfect pace that
Yeah.
I like mentally was at the right
Yep.
spot the whole time until he came.
Mhm.
With my third, it went so fast that I never got on top of the contractions mentally.
Yeah.
So they were so much more intense that I just was like, I felt out of control in that one. And so when I got to that point, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Like
Mhm.
I still can't get on top of them. Even though it was peaceful and easy, like I still can't get to that spot. So I'm just going to push him out. My pelvic floor did not like that. That one was my worst by far for that.
Ugh.
But he did just come
Come
out
out.
and it was done. But yeah, so that was like, okay, I can do that. I can feel where he is. I can know where he is,
Mhm.
but I'm not going to do anything else beyond that.
Yeah. Um, what I'm thinking about now is that so you've had your third baby
Mhm.
and your husband's in line. I can never say that.
Lineman school.
Lineman. I
Yeah.
always want to say lineman, but it is lineman,
Yeah.
but it's lineman.
Yeah. Yeah. Same
So
thing.
stupid.
It's like the midwife or midwifery
Yeah.
or midwifery.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's consuming. It still is consuming your life. How did
Mhm.
you guys decide let's have another baby while you're in the midst of this?
Yeah. So, he actually left for school when Rhett was 6 weeks old.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Yeah, and so he went for 3 months. He was in Orville, and he would come home on the weekends.
Okay.
And that was another like. I was really angry that I was at my in-laws for postpartum because I was like, I don't
Mm,
want to be in somebody else's house having to
yeah.
deal with postpartum and all those things. But it was actually a blessing. Like God was like,
Yeah.
I know what I'm doing. I'm taking care of you because I had help
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
he was gone for three
Absolutely.
months, And so that was actually like his hand in there,
Totally.
keeping me protected through that and like making it a lot easier on me than it could have been. So after that, I was like, okay, well, we're not in school, so like you're here, you're close to home. That should be easier, right?
Right?
We got really lucky. God definitely like watched over us in his placements. He got to be home for his first three jobs. His first job before the apprenticeship started, and then his first 2 years of the apprenticeship, he was local.
How long is this process?
It's a 3-year program
Wow.
without any interruptions.
But life happens. So,
Yes, yeah, and so we had about 6 months we're behind between the, job that he was working, their yard, the work that they had, and then, he got injured on the job, and, we had, like, mold in our house and had to move out
hmm,
and renovate.
just casual things,
Yeah, right? No big
little
deal. It's been a
things.
year for us. Um,
Yeah.
and so we're about 6 months behind on
Okay.
that, and so that's why we're at 8 months now,
Yeah.
but
How was postpartum for you? Is it like a big experience? No big deal?
um somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I think I handle it pretty well.
Mhm.
Like with my second, I was stir crazy by a weekend, and so I took both of them by myself to like play date.
Mm,
Because I was like, I don't want to be in the house anymore. I'm done. With my first, it was a little more. I didn't connect with her right away. I think a lot. I like to think it's because the epidural and everything that like
mm,
all things that things
mhm.
that I don't know, just the hospital birth, like how it changes
Yeah.
everything. Um, the lack of things are dumbed down on purpose, and so
Mhm.
there was just that lack of connection. And she was the first grandkid, first my with a lot of my friends and everything. So everyone came to meet her right away, and so everybody was holding my baby but me.
Yeah.
And at the time, I didn't think too much of it, but, like, I didn't realize that I wasn't getting to connect with her. And so it took until she was, like, 4 days old, and everybody, like, went back to work, all my friends were gone, my husband was
Mhm.
sleeping, and I just, like, sat staring at her for, like, 4 hours.
Mm.
And I finally connected, and so I feel like the first few days were a little rough with that, and then, my husband was only home for a week and then went back, but I only had 1, so I was like, "Okay, we can figure this out."
Mhm.
Um and so it was okay. Like it was, a first time postpartum. I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. And then my second, he was home for 3 weeks, and so I was like, okay, I need to get moving. I need to do something. Like we need to be busier,
Mhm.
and I didn't quite slow down enough. So that one was really easy for me in that I had help. I had meal trains. I had support, and I recovered so easily with him. He was he was almost 8.5 pounds, and just the easiest, like recovery, everything. I don't know why the big baby was the easiest one, but it was just a piece of cake. And so I
Mhm.
think that one was a lot easier. By my third though, that one was really hard because, like I said, my husband left at 6 weeks. He was
Yeah.
only had a week off of work because he was using all of it for his leave for school.
Mhm.
And we were still living at my in-laws and trying to do 2 kids, and he had ties that we took him in right away, and they're like, oh, he only has a lip tie, we're gonna just fix that. And
Never heard of only a lip
yeah,
tie.
he didn't. He didn't only have a lip tie.
Mhm.
So we did just the lip tie, and everything got worse. And so I, called lactation consultant. And I'm like, hey, I should have come to you. I'm really sorry, because I went sorry with
We all do
with
it.
my second, and I So I was like, I should have known better. I should have just come to you first. But I thought, I know what I'm doing this time. I'm just going to go get it dealt with,
Yeah.
No, I was wrong. I went to her. She's like, yeah, he does. But I can see where they missed it. It's really, really posterior and hard to tell. But function is showing that he needs it revised. And so we had to do a second revision. And my husband's gone at this point. So I have all of the
My
like
gosh.
tie stretches, all of the appointments, all of that, all
So
of the
much.
like chiropractor,
Mhm.
craniosacral therapy, everything all by myself with the 3 kids. And so postpartum that time was a bit hard,
Yeah.
mostly because of like life on
Yeah.
top of it. Physically, I I think a week after, like I said, my pelvic floor was pretty bad. But after that, physically, like they're okay. They're not too bad. Hormonally, like I'm not overly emotional, except with my daughter. That one, I remember just crying for no reason.
Yeah.
But the others, I like bounce back pretty quick. It's been life that's kind of determined
Mhm.
whether or not postpartum
Yeah.
has been
That's
hard for me.
Yeah.
very common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Number
So-
4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, so you
I know.
decided this isn't as hard as it could get.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I was like, might as well. And I really wanted a fourth. I had Rhett and I like left the birth center, like, let's do it again.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
that was great. I was like,
And you guys are still kind of joking, like, we're having 10 kids.
kind of, but not really. We thought third was our last one.
Okay.
Mm.
So after our first, we're like, we want a bunch of kids. After our second, we're like, okay, maybe we're not quite cut out for a big family. We were a little unsure because his first year was really hard. He had ties too, which were missed, even though I asked over and over and over. Nobody caught them until a friend in a Facebook group did. We were or not Facebook, we were actually Marco Poloing, and she's like, it really sounds like your son has ties. Like, you should look into that. So I did all the Google research, found somebody in our area who could diagnose it. The first place lactation consultant was like, no, I mean, he has them, but they're not affecting him. Just hold him differently. And I was like, okay, like, I don't think that's really gonna help, but
Yeah.
thanks. And my pediatrician refused to refer to the lactation consultant. And so it's like, okay, so another dead end. Finally, I found a chiropractor who was, I can't remember the word for it, but basically trained in ties.
Yeah.
And so we went to her, and she's like, yeah, he does have ties. You need to go to a dentist, though, for like more confirmation, but like he definitely has them and tension. And so she would work on him, and he'd be able to latch after every time she did. And so it took until, because at the time, like, we didn't have very much money and we couldn't just do everything out of pocket. We had to go through insurance. And so we were trying to find a way to do this through insurance. And so we didn't get to do his ties until he was almost 8 months old. And he would scream all night long.
Oh, wow.
Scream all day long and nurse all night long.
This is your second?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Because his ties were so tight, he couldn't relax enough during the day to nurse. So he would just cry. And then at night, he could finally relax because he was sleeping. And so he would nurse through the whole night.
Wow.
And that
Kinda
went
make
all
up
the
for
way.
it.
Yeah. And it hurt every time he latched,
Oh
all
my
the way until
gosh.
8 months. And so it was a really, really rough year
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
him. And he has a spitfire of a personality too, on top of it. So once he hit one and the tantrum started and all the things, my husband were like, maybe we're done. Like,
Yeah.
maybe we should quit while
Two
we're
sounds
ahead.
really
Like,
good.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not a really good mom, and I just like
Right? I
Like,
know.
this motherhood thing is made for me.
Yeah. So I was disappointed because I was like, if we didn't want more, that'd be one thing. But I
Yeah.
felt like I
my gosh.
wasn't able to. I felt like we couldn't have more because I couldn't handle it, and I was like, that was hard. And then
Yeah.
he turned one, and he started sleeping through the night, and
Mhm.
all the work we had done with the ties like kicked in, and his were
Mm.
really bad. Like, he couldn't swallow solid food,
Wow.
and he was struggling like with words and all the things, and then it just like slowly all came together, and he turned one, and I was like, okay, both of us were like, I think we can do this. But then, I mean, it's kind of a bigger thing to get into, so like little snippet of it is then my mom got sick,
Yeah.
and so then we had to put that on pause.
Mhm.
And so then I'm like, okay, well, I really want another baby, but like my husband's like, we need to focus on her right now.
Yeah.
And she was sick for 6 months and then passed away. And he's like, now you need to focus on you. Like, you can't have another baby yet until you've taken some time. So it's like, okay. So finally with the third, we're like, okay, we're ready. Third one came. So then by the time we're like, okay, let's have a fourth. I was ready from the day Rhett came. And my husband was so about halfway through. Back up with that is halfway through Rhett's pregnancy. I was like, we thought we were done. Like I said, we had two. We're like, okay, we can have the third. So we have the third, and I'm pregnant with him, and I'm like, great, this is it for us. Like, we're done. 3 is our number. We're only gonna push it a little over that envelope because like 2 is rough. Like, we weren't sure there. Now we're We're going to go
Yeah.
for 3, but then we're done. And halfway through pregnancy, I could not shake that we were missing somebody. I was like,
Mhm.
I cannot shake the feeling that like somebody's missing from our family. So we were on a date one night and I was like, what do you think for? And he's like, and I'm like, because I really think someone's missing. I was like, I
Mm.
think we're supposed to have 4 kids. And I was like, I can't shake the feeling. I was like, I've been feeling it for a while. And I like didn't say anything until I knew for sure. I was like, but I really like can't
While
shake
you were
it.
pregnant with Rhett.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah.
wasn't Rhett. You knew that he was ready
Yeah.
to it was like
Mm-hmm.
another
It was another
baby.
one. Yeah. And I was
Wow.
like, we need 4. And he's like, okay, if you're set on that, if you're sure, then 4 it is. So like so Rhett came and I'm like, great, let's do it. And he's like, that this is chaos. He's like, I don't think I can do 4. And I was like, no, we can do 4. We're fine. And he's like, no, really, like I just take some time. He's like, you can't talk about this right now. And because I mean, I literally like get home with the birth center. I'm like, great, let's do it
That was
again.
amazing. Let's do
Yeah.
it again. Yeah.
And he's
Have
like,
Irish twins.
yeah, and he's like, "We need some time. Like, you can't talk about this yet." So I waited and waited. I'm like, "Can we talk about it? Can we talk about it?" And he's like, "No, like, I'm not ready." And then one day he's like, "I don't know if I can do a 4th. I don't know that I want one." And I was heartbroken. I was like, "No, like, someone's missing. Like, it's not optional. Like, we're having another baby, but I need you on board here." So I started praying and I was just asking God, like, change my heart or his. Let us
Mhm.
be on the same page. That's all I need. And we were very, very blessed in that all of our babies, the first 3 were very easy to
Mhm.
conceive. And somehow he was still shocked every time. And so like by the 4th, I was like, I really want him. Like, I really want this baby. I want him to feel that. I want him to really want this baby because I'm the one who's been waiting and he's just now coming around. And he's been surprised every time by it. Like, oh, that happened really fast.
Mm.
And so this time I want him to be like, I want to be able to tell him in a cute way and him be like super overjoyed with me.
Mm.
And so that was kind of what determined the timing of it was that he had to be ready. So like
Yeah.
I was like the apprenticeship whatever, and he's like I need some space. So we prayed and then finally one day he's like, a 4th might not be so bad. And I was
Mm.
like there's my yes. Like I
Mhm.
got it. I'm like okay, great. And the next week he got sent out on storm for the apprenticeship. It was I don't know if you guys remember a few years ago that really bad set of storms we had where like everyone's power went
Yeah.
out all
Yeah.
over the state. We
Like
had
the
like
80-mile winds.
yes.
Wasn't
Yeah.
that it was like December? Does that line
I
up or am
think
I
it was
thinking of the
like
Like
wrong
New
one?
Year's Eve.
no, well, that was when it started, and then we had it
Okay.
again in February and went
Okay.
through March.
Yeah.
In that time, before he said yes, I was like, I need to do something about my baby fever, and I got a puppy. And I was like, well, if I'm not gonna have a baby, I might as well get a dog.
Mhm.
And so I didn't pick her up yet. We sent money onto a puppy to pick it up and to get
Mhm.
a puppy when she was ready.
Mhm.
And so we had this nice little weekend set away. We were gonna go. We were gonna pick up our dog, and then he got sent on that storm. And so I had to go do it myself. So now I have 3 kids, a baby, a puppy.
Puppy.
I already have a dog. We have chickens, and like
Gosh.
life's just crazy. And he's now gone. And he called one day. He's like, "Hey, I might have to go on storm." He came home an hour later, packed his bag, and was gone for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And we had no idea when he was coming back, when he'd be done. So he comes back and he's like, let's wait till after storm to start trying for a 4th. And I'm like, okay. He comes back and I'm like, I think I'm ovulating. He's like, okay.
I mean, a storm is going on. There's nothing
Right?
more
He got to come home for a
romantic.
day and then was like gone for another 2 weeks. He's gone for
It's now
5
or
total.
never.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's like, right? Well, so we're like, okay, sure, why not? The next morning, I had had blood work done because I knew my hormones were off, and I was like, let's, if we're gonna have another baby, we should probably get this taken care of. I get the results the next morning, and I have Hashimoto's.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And so my hormones are a little off, but mostly it's that. And I was like, so when can we start trying to have another baby? She's like, I would wait 6 months. I'm like, oops, yesterday already happened. I'm
You're
like,
like, so about that.
okay, yeah. Um, and so I'm freaking out now. And so I immediately go take an ovulation test. Sure enough, I'm ovulating.
Mm.
And like for sure. Because when I was like, okay, maybe, but then I'm
Yeah.
like, no, it's like full on, yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, with my history, that's gonna be a baby. But we wanted it. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, well, I'm excited, but I don't know how this is gonna pan out. And then unfortunately, like I was like, I'm gonna wait to tell him. And if I am pregnant, I'm gonna like make it cute, thinking all those
Yeah.
things. So I wait a couple weeks. I'm home alone one morning. He has the kids out. I'm getting ready for a baby shower, and I was like, I'm gonna take a test just on a whim. Like literally not because I had any thought I was
Mm.
pregnant, but because I was home alone and bored.
You're like, what can I do?
Right?
Take a pregnancy test.
I was like, just for the heck of it. Like it's been a little while, and I don't
Yeah.
have regular periods. So
Mm.
for me, like that, I just take them here and there
Yeah.
because you never know.
Yeah.
And so I took one, and there was the faintest little line. I was like,
Mm.
oh, well, I have too much to do today. We're gonna just put that away. And so I was like, I'm just gonna move on. And so I did. I went and I like hosted a baby shower
Oh
and
my
did all these
gosh.
things and didn't tell anybody, didn't say a word to anyone. And I was like, okay, now how do I tell him? And it was Easter that weekend. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna like put it in an Easter basket and give it to him. And I was like all excited. But before I could get to that, I started bleeding
Mm.
and ended up having a miscarriage. And so I had to tell him I'm pregnant and I'm losing it
No,
in the same
I'm
conversation.
sorry.
And so yeah, that was like he was just like, I don't even know what to think because I didn't know this was
Yeah.
a thing, but I'm like, I don't know either because it hasn't been very long, but I'm sad, but I'm.
Mhm.
And so that happened and then this is all like the timing to get to Hank was from when he said that. So then I'm like, okay, well, we'll try again.
Mhm.
And I'm like, well, I'm trying to fix the Hashimoto's. Like
Mhm.
that could be the cause. So we start like working on that. I dive like super deep into naturally like healing
Mhm.
Hashimoto's. And I'm working with a naturopath and doing all of that. And a couple months goes by and for me, like I said, I got pregnant the first time with all of the others. So this now feels like an eternity and like a loss is
Yeah.
like a huge thing like
Yeah.
in the scheme of like timing it wasn't, but like for that, it,
Yeah, you're minute by
compared,
minute. Yeah.
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 And so that was April and I like don't get pregnant the next month and I'm like, okay, maybe the next month. And June, I end up getting a positive pregnancy
Mm.
test. And I'm like, okay, this is our rainbow baby. Like I was so excited. I had like a little onesie already. I like surprised him one morning when I got the positive test. I was so excited. And he was super excited. And like I got on video, I got like that whole moment that I had been
Mhm.
hoping for where he was just like happy and all of it because now
Mhm.
after the loss, he is like, I really want that baby too,
Mm. Mhm.
Like it
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh, that happened really quick. It's now like, okay, we've been waiting and not that long, but we're waiting and it put that little more
Yeah.
like, I don't know, meaning into that
Totally.
positive test. And so we're getting all excited and a couple weeks go by and my HCG drops because the last
Mm.
one they were willing to test it and they called and like, I'm sorry, like
Mm.
unfortunately, it went down to like 50. So
Mm.
any day now, like you're gonna have a miscarriage.
Wow.
And that was really hard because I knew before it came. So then I just
Yeah.
had to wait around for it. And so I sent him to work and I shouldn't have because right after he left, I like had a miscarriage. And that's like
Mm.
a mini labor. And so I
Yeah.
had to take care of my three kids while
You're
doing,
laboring.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that was just like emotionally like
Mhm.
heartbreaking as well as like physically painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that happen. And after that baby, I was like, okay, I need a break. I was like, this is now like 6 months that we've been
Wow.
trying, which is like the longest for us, which
Yeah.
like I feel sometimes I feel so bad because I'm like, I know people try for so long, but for us, that was like a
Any day
long,
that you have to wait is painful.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so for
It's
that was like such a big thing for us.
yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I need a break. I can't emotionally take another
Right.
miscarriage right now.
Mhm.
I was like, so like, let's just wait a few months. And he's like, okay, whatever you need to do, that's fine by me. And that was at the end of July. And so I was like, okay, we're not going to. Um, so we actively tried not to get pregnant.
Mhm.
And then I was supposed to, my naturopath was like, well, maybe PCOS because you've had two now. Like, let's try and find out what's causing the miscarriages. And so she's like, I want you to go do blood work on this day of your cycle. Like, okay. Well, I mean, a month goes by and I still don't have a cycle after the
Mm.
miscarriage. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to start taking ovulation tests so that I'm not surprised by my period when it does come. And I like take a test and it is the darkest I have ever seen an ovulation test be. And it like
Mhm.
immediately turns out. I'm like, that's weird. And I like take another one and it's the same thing. And I was like, I'm going to take a pregnancy just to figure it out because I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I'm thinking
Yeah.
maybe it's like leftover from my miscarriage, like hormones in my
Mm.
system or something. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. So I take a pregnancy test. That thing immediately turned positive.
Wow.
Like I barely finished peeing on the stick and there was like two dark lines. And I'm like, okay, like that's impossible. But
Mhm.
okay. So now I'm honestly just thinking that it's like from my
Yeah.
miscarriage that something's wrong, like something got left over or whatever and my body hasn't realized that it's all out. And I text my best friend. I'm like, this just happened. And she's like, okay, like, how are you? What's going on? I'm like, I don't really know. It's impossible. Like, there's no way.
Mhm.
Because I thought I knew when I ovulated. And I thought I avoided that. And then we even, tried to prevent it. And so I was like, this like is impossible.
Yeah.
So I scheduled an appointment to go get blood work. And the birth center was the first one that could get me in. So I went and had them do it, and I'm kind of chatting with the midwife a little bit, and she's like, "Oh, like, did you end up trying right after your miscarriage?" I was like, "I mean, not on purpose," but she's like, "Yeah, you're most fertile at that point." I'm like, "Good to know now." And I mean, I wanted this baby, but at the same time, I was like so confused what was going on. So she's like, "Yeah, you definitely could be pregnant." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that one comes back, and the HCG is like through the roof.
Wow.
And I'm like, Okay, so where?" And I say to my husband, I'm like, "Hey, so I got a positive pregnancy test today." And he goes, "That's impossible. You did not."
You're like, I've already been through this.
Yeah.
It's not impossible.
Yeah. And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna go get blood work done. We'll see." And so then I do, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's positive. Like, I'm very pregnant." And he's like, "Okay, like, great." Like, we were both so excited. We were just
Yeah.
so confused
Yeah, and
by it.
shocked and, like, we're
Yeah.
grieving that we're expecting.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
the weirdest thing, but it was one of the ways, like, all through Hank's pregnancy, God just showed me how it was him. Like, it was
Mhm.
so him that needed to be in our family. From the time that, like, I knew he was missing to, like, him being born, there was little things like that. Like, when I didn't think it was possible that I got pregnant, it was, I got pregnant with him.
Mhm.
And so it just was the timing was all God and his knowing that Hank needed to be here and needed to be there then.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love
So
that.
so I didn't actually choose really. When that 4th one came along, it just
Yeah.
God did on that one.
Yeah, but you knew
That's
he
so
was coming.
cool.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep, and I think he was a twin, to be honest.
Oh.
So my HCG was so high that, I was like, "Oh, that's suspicious." So I asked my midwives, and like, "Oh, we'll just monitor you. Like, we're not gonna go into anything like that because there's scary things it can be and
Oh. Mhm.
positive things it can be."
Mhm.
And so, like, "We'll just look later." And I'm like, "Okay." And it was very high. And like that stick, I mean, I was like maybe 10 days, if that, when it turned that positive.
Wow.
So there was like obviously a lot of HCG there, and going through. And then I get to my first ultrasound and I was a wreck before it. Like, I
Yeah.
just remember crying the night before, being like, I'm so scared to get to that ultrasound and like it not go how we're hoping. And, he's like, "We just have to like trust God. It's going to be okay." And so we get to the ultrasound and he's there and he's moving and he's got a heartbeat. And they could actually tell that it was a boy right then. um,
What?
yeah.
Good shot.
In
Um, at 12 weeks, he was
in
just
all the ways this boy was coming in hot.
right. Yeah. And I didn't want to know. I didn't want to find out we were having. So like, we were not going to tell you, but I was like, it's obvious. If you already know, like, I
Right.
know. So I
Then
didn't get to be surprised, but that's okay because
no.
my husband told me I had to choose home birth or a surprise gender.
Okay.
And so I chose home birth. So I was like,
Fair enough.
fine.
That's a good, choices.
Right. Because he didn't really want either. So he's like, "All right, I'll compromise with you."
Well, I'm
What-
surprised he would wanna go through that 35-minute drive again with you pushing.
Right?
Yes.
He's a homebody and he doesn't want people in his space.
Oh.
So he didn't
Oh.
like the idea of everyone coming to him.
Yeah,
That
He
that
makes
makes
likes to
sense.
go and he's like, "Birth is gross." He's like, "I want to go, have it, leave it, and then come back."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Sorry, we're not doing that."
Yeah,
Because
kind of transformed here.
well, and I'm thinking that he came so fast
Yeah.
that
It was
I'm
a
not
good
going to
choice,
go.
Caitlin.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, Hank's labor was nice and long. We had plenty of time.
Don't you just love that?
Yeah. So
Those babies.
yeah. So anyways, and then we go to the ultrasound and he's there and he shows up and then there's another like thing in the corner
Mm.
and they're like, "Oh, I don't know." They're like, "It's probably like a blighted ovum." And so, like your body maybe thought you were pregnant, but there's no baby. Like we're for sure there's one baby in there, but there's just this empty sac.
Nothing. Yeah.
And so I don't know if my body thought I was or if I was pregnant with twins and lost one and it was him.
Mhm.
But I'm like, even if I did, like that's even more testament to him being here,
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
one of them didn't make it.
Yeah.
And so that was just like, okay. My husband's like, "I'm not even gonna be upset if it's twins," because I like he didn't want twins at all.
Yeah.
So then he's like, "I just want like the baby to be there and be okay
Right.
and healthy." And so then I told him, he's like, "It's okay, I don't even care." And it turned out it was just one, but I think it was two. And like I said, that just to me was like another sign that like he was supposed to
Yeah.
Yeah.
supposed to be here and healthy and strong. And so yeah, and that was the like story of getting to Hank.
Yeah. So special.
Yeah.
So we know you chose home birth.
Mhm.
What changed your mind from the birth center? Because that was such a positive experience.
Yeah.
Was that just, I want to be in my own space? We finally have our own home. What influenced that decision for you?
Yeah, a little bit of that and a little bit of I was really spoiled. I know when you had at the same time as me, you had like
Mm.
one person. Like Marlene was the midwife
Yeah.
at the time. And so I had that one person care.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like when I visited the birth center for my blood work and stuff, the different midwives, although it's amazing, I just felt spoiled because
It's very
it
different.
is, and I
Mhm.
didn't want that. I wanted one person. I was like, I now like this. Like, I'm
Yeah.
used to this, and I want one person at my birth and all my appointments and
And you were
everything.
probably the only person in labor.
I
Yeah, I
was.
had the birth center to myself. Like,
Yeah.
remember we went to the lobby to do some, like, walks and stuff? So
Mhm.
I've had the same feeling of,
Yeah.
like, it's just not the same, and I almost feel like
It's
it would
not.
ruin it for me.
Yeah,
So,
totally.
I get
And, like,
that.
it's a wonderful place. Like, I encourage people to go there all the time,
Totally. Yep.
but, like, after having that other experience,
Mhm.
like, Trisha told me when she's like, "Oh, yeah, I watched you walk in on the monitors and prayed for you while you were in labor."
Aw.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a different experience than it
Yeah,
is
It's
yeah.
it's
now.
amazing the
Nowhere
growth they've
else.
had, but yeah, it's
It is,
totally
but I
different.
mean, they're on, like, almost 1,000. He was, like,
Yeah.
79 or
Yeah.
something, you know, like,
Yeah, I was 88.
"Were you? Okay, yeah." Yeah, so he was, like, right at the beginning there, so that
Yeah.
was my main thing was that when I went, I was like, "I love it." I still feel the same, like, peace walking in. I still, like, fully believe in it, but, like, I want what I had,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and so that was my main driving factor, and then the other one was that I went so fast with Rhett
Mhm.
that I was like, "Well, what if this one goes quickly too?" And my husband had the potential of being anywhere for work,
Yeah.
and I didn't know. I was like, "What if you don't work locally? What if you're 2 hours away? What if you can't get here to get me to the birth center? I'm not gonna drive myself." And so I told him, I was like, "We either go to the birth center and hire a doula so that I have somebody to, like,
Mhm.
help me if you're gone." I was like, "Or we have a home birth," because Rhett, I basically did on my own.
Yeah.
I was like, "I could just do this one if need be."
Yeah.
And so he was like, "Okay, well," and that's where they came in, you can have surprise gender or home birth. And I was like, "Fine, I pick a home birth."
Okay, so tell us about that labor then. You said it was
Yeah.
nice and long.
Yeah, oh, yeah, it was 18 hours.
Oh my
Yeah,
That's
which
so awful after, like, short labors.
mhm.
It's just
It was
torture.
it was. And so my due date ended up being wrong. After he was
Mm.
born, we realized this is not a 40, almost 42-week baby. This
Oh.
is a, like, 40-week baby.
Oh, wow.
Because there was two potential dates and
Oh.
the ultrasound confirmed one of them, so we went with that one. It was not. It was the other one that I was like, "Absolutely not. There's no way that date could be the right date," but it was that
Because of
date.
conception?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Conception, yeah.
Interesting.
And, so I was like, "Okay, well, apparently after he was born, it was that date." So
Mhm.
I'm now, like, getting up to labor. I was like, I don't want him to come early. I have a ton to do.
Mhm.
Like, we have school things finishing up. We need to finish our homeschool year with our community that we do it with. My boys were we're mutton busting in the rodeo, in the
Oh,
Auburn
so
rodeo.
fun.
And I was like, I need to be at that rodeo. So I was like, just stay put. Like, don't come early. Let me get through all my stuff. And the rodeo is the day before my due date. And so I was like, if I can just get to my due date anytime after that. So I get to my due date and I'm like, I got through everything. Like,
Mhm.
we're good. He can come any day now. And then he didn't come for another, like, week and a half.
Mm.
And it was that same thing as, like, the second, where I was like, okay, like, at first I was really patient. I was like, this is
Mhm.
probably my last. I want to enjoy every minute of pregnancy. I'm going to be really good about this.
Mhm.
I'm going to be so calm and, like, I don't care, not a big deal. But then as I started creeping up to that 42 weeks, I was like, I don't want to get sent to the hospital. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be induced. I don't want to get sent to the hospital. I'm like, what can I do at this point? So, and I had vaginal labor, as always, leading up to it. So a few days where I had to have like 8 hours of contractions.
Wow.
And they were completely manageable, though, not painful because they're just vaginal, but I'm like, hey, maybe they'll turn into something. And just dead stop over and over and over. It happened so many times. Only once did I text my midwife and say, I'm having contractions.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm not calling, like, sending off
Yeah.
the signals yet, but I'm letting you know that they're coming. So friends suggested I just, like, notify them because I didn't tell
Mhm.
anybody at the birth center. I was just like, hey, I'm in labor. Like, oh, you should have called us when contractions started. And I was like, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, at the hospital, you just show up.
Yeah.
So this time I'm like, I'm trying to be a better patient,
Mhm.
and so I let them know, and dies out. And so the week, so I was 42, gonna be 42 weeks on Monday, and that week I'm just like so stressed out. I'm like, why is he not coming?
Mhm.
And I was like, I really feel like it's because I'm not mentally, like, getting in the right space, which has kind of been a pattern with all of them.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I need to relax. But every time I go to relax or, like, get in when contractions start, I'm doing too many things. And so I wasn't able to, like, focus on the contractions.
Mhm.
I would just work through them as I did everything. And my body's like, oh, not the right time. Like, stop.
Mhm.
And it just felt like my body would be like, oh, you're too busy for right now. I'm just going to, hold off on this baby. And so I'm getting towards the end, and she's like, okay, well, here's 2 tinctures. Like, you can take these at my 41-week appointment. She's like, if you want to take these to get it started, like, we can do that. But we're getting very close to you, like, being out of my care. And I was like, okay. I was like, can we like change that date? I was like, it's different than what I thought. She's like, well, let's just see what happens.
Mhm.
It's like, okay. So I bring the tinctures home, but I wasn't comfortable doing it yet. Not because of the tinctures themselves, but I was just like, I don't want to do anything. Like I really wanted labor to start on its own, him to come, being home. Like I
Yeah.
had this whole idea of what it was gonna be like. And so I put them on the shelf and I was like, if I don't wake up tomorrow in labor, then I will start the tinctures first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
And my husband, it was another work thing. He only had a week off. And so he's like, if you could wait till the weekend, then we get an extra couple days.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. So now we're at like, I think it was Wednesday. And I was finally like, okay, I have to do everything I can to get this baby out on my end. So like I've been curb walking for days. I've been,
Mhm.
doing hills, like all the things. I finally just put my kids in front of a movie and I went in my bedroom and I put on natural childbirth, the like
Mhm.
course
Mhm.
to listen to it. And I did the mile circuit. And I just laid in bed with like out any distractions and just was like fully focused on that. I was like, I
Mhm.
obviously need to get my like
Yeah.
mental space right for my body to like kick in.
Mhm.
And so I did that. And I remember like Mark calling a friend and being like, nothing yet. Like everyone's checking on me. Like, I'm not in labor, nothing. That was like 5:30, 6:30 contractions started. And I started like bouncing on the ball and I still had to do like dinner and all the
Yeah.
things. But afterwards I was like, I'm gonna focus. Like I'm not gonna let this one slip away.
Yeah.
And so I did. And around midnight I told my husband, I'm like, I've been having them since about 6:30. I think I'm in labor. He's like,
Hmm.
why didn't you tell me sooner? I'm gonna go to sleep. And
Need to get some shut eye
yeah,
before this
he
baby
was so
comes.
mad. He's like, "I coulda gotten some rest before." He's like, "But I just stayed up till midnight,
Oh
thinking
my
I, like,
gosh.
had a normal work day tomorrow and didn't need to be rested for that." And I was like, "Well, go to sleep now, sorry," you know?
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm just gonna sit here and work through contractions."
I'll just be here having a baby.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so he did, he goes to sleep, passes out, and around 1 a.m., I'm like, "Okay, these are getting intense." So I
Mhm.
call my midwife. And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I texted her." I was just like, "I think we're, getting there, like, maybe have you come soon." They ended up coming around 3:34. Contractions were getting more intense and more intense, and I for sure am thinking I'm, like, decently along because I'm like, "I've done this
Yeah,
2 times. I know what contractions feel like at
totally.
each point, like, we're moving."
Mhm.
And because 'cause they're getting intense now, and
Mhm.
I'm, like, really, like, breathing through them, and they come and they're like, "Okay, like, we're gonna get all set up, and do you wanna be checked?" And I was like, "Sure, like, I wanna at least know for sure this is real labor." And
Mhm.
they're like, "Okay, like, let's just make sure." And they're like, "Oh, you're
I'm
about
feeling
4
scared for you.
centimeters."
Okay, it's not that bad. I
No,
was
it
like,
wasn't, but it was only 4
but still 4.
centimeters. I'm
Yes.
thinking I'm like 6,
Yeah.
7. And they're like, "It's 4." And I'm like, Wait, what?" And they're like, "Yeah, so, like, try and get some rest. We're gonna go."
Ooh, no.
And
Worst feeling
I know, I
ever.
was so upset. Not mad at them, but
No,
just,
no,
like,
no.
mad at the situation,
Yeah.
right? And so they're like, "We're gonna go, and we're gonna come back," and because they had office hours that day, like, it was Wednesday
Mm.
night to Thursday, and so Thursday was when they had their office hours, and so they were like, "We're gonna get a little rest. This way, if it picks back up, we come
Yeah.
back," all of that, and one of them was sick.
Mm.
And so she was, like, staying away from me, but, like, trying to help set everything up.
Yeah.
And so they leave, and I'm, like, totally discouraged at this point. And, I text my friend, I'm like, "What does back labor feel like?" And she's like, "Oh, I hate that question for you." And she explained, I'm like, "Yeah, that's why it's so tense." I
Mm.
had full-on back labor, and I'd never had that in any of my others, so that's, like, was why he was so tense. He, had himself wedged and he did my whole pregnancy. He was wedged into my left hip,
Mm.
and, it just was his spot, and so in labor, that's where he got himself stuck, and he was just sitting there, and so it was causing, like, insane back labor, and I'm just, like, trying to get through these contractions. My husband's asleep, it's the middle of the night, and I'm trying to sleep through them, so, like, I lay down on the bed, fall asleep for a few minutes, wake up to a contraction, and nothing's comfortable but standing, and so I have to stand, so then even crawling on the bed was, like, excruciating, and I'm like, "I've managed labors well, I've never had this before."
Yeah.
And, the one nice thing about it was a friend said it was very validating because she had back labors and only back labors. And so she's
Mm.
like, "Why is this so hard for me?" And I'm like, "No, no,
Mm.
it's not you, it's the back labor. Like,
Yeah.
it's not your fault." And, so that's the, like, one silver lining I take from
Yeah.
having
You're like, "I
all
did
that.
this just for you,
Yeah,
so
right.
validated."
I know. And so I'm, like, getting through it, and I'm just, like, miserable. I'm not doing well mentally because 'cause I'm like, "What is going on?" Like, this is just taking forever. It's
Mhm.
so much more intense. Why am I not coping? And this is like before I really realized he's stuck, but I'm like, why am I not doing well? Like, why can't I handle this? And one of my biggest regrets in that was not getting a doula. I wanted one the whole time. I was actually gonna ask Becca, and I was
I
like,
would have just came to be there with you.
and that's like I think what I needed the most
Yeah.
because my husband was asleep
Yeah.
and the midwives had left, and I was like, I just needed somebody to like help me through it.
Yeah.
And I let him sleep, so like granted that, but I was like, I'm not gonna get a doula because I already spent all this money on a home birth, and I
Yeah.
did it last time so easily. Like we did it, and my husband works so well with me that I was like,
Mhm.
we don't need another person. I was wrong. And now
Mm.
I'm aware of that. And if there were ever to be another one, it's like, no, we're getting the doula because you just don't know. We're so unpredictable and you think you know what you're doing. And then all of a sudden a birth like this
Mhm.
comes along and totally throws you off. And so I'm like trying to walk because they start slowing down. And I'm
Mm.
trying to walk and like move, but it's so painful. I'm like, I don't want to walk. So I'm just sitting on my bed, like being stubborn. And I'm like, I don't want.
OP babies, I think in my experience, like paralyze the mom. Like it makes them like
Mhm.
they cannot
Yeah.
function, they can't move, they can't cope because it's so wrong
Yeah.
that it's like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
couldn't. I like could not move. I couldn't get myself to walk. And so I'm texting with my midwife and she's like, giving suggestions, things
Mhm.
to do, whatever. And morning comes and I'm still like, I'm like, okay, I put some like music on, worship music on. I'm like, I'm gonna try and like force myself to get this baby moving and get this baby out. And so I start walking again back and forth. And my husband gets up, the boys wake up, they come in, they're all excited. They go out. He starts breakfast. He called my mother-in-law to come, but there was like miscommunication, and so she went and ran an errand first. And like 3 hours later, we're like, "Is she okay? Like she hasn't showed up." So he's been with my kids, so I'm just laboring by myself. And she comes, and so he's in with me, but he kind of is like back and forth a little bit. So I was
Mhm.
doing this like all by myself again, and just not enjoying it
No.
whatsoever. And finally, I like texted the midwives and I was like, I'd like you to come back now. And they're like, okay. And they came like an hour and a half later, I think around 10ish. And so I've just been doing this by myself all night. And I'm so like focused on why is this hard? Why am I not enjoying this? That I wasn't like realizing, okay, I know that my contractions are sporadic time wise. Like it
Mhm.
happens with every labor. So like when they're like, oh, well, they're not getting closer together, we're not going to come just yet. I should have said, hey, that's just how mine are. I can
Mm.
have a contraction 10 minutes apart and then have a baby like 20 minutes later. Like
Mm.
it just
That's
mine
how
you
it
can't
goes.
go by
Yeah.
timing. That's where usually the intensity comes in. But then I was like, I can't even rely on that because
It's
only
all intense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I don't even know what's going on at this point. And so like I
Mhm.
wasn't able to like think clearly through it to be like, okay, ignore the timing. Like remember that. Okay, like I had chills and then I would get hot. And so I'm like sitting on a heating pad and then I'd like put a sweater on and then I'd throw it off.
No.
And I'm
Mm.
just like over and over. My body's shaking. Like I just keep shaking through it. And I've never had any of that. So it's just like mentally, it was so hard.
Yeah.
And they finally like come back and I'm talking to her and I was like, I feel I don't remember what I said wording wise, but I was like, I feel like something's off. Like I feel like his position or something like
Mm.
and I just started explaining things from the labor, and she's like, "He sounds stuck in like in his position." She's like, "Why don't we do the hula doula or doula hula?" And she's like, "And get him into the right position and see if that helps."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Okay." And she did it, and that was like the most excruciating thing I've ever felt in my life because during a contraction, they're like
Oh,
moving your
Is
hips.
it the like shaking apples or
it's
what?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But like more
Yeah.
manipulated, I think.
Yeah,
Wow.
like very strategic and like
Yeah.
during a contraction. And I didn't want to get on the bed at this point because, like I said,
Mhm.
like I can't even hardly move.
Yeah.
And so I had to get on the bed for it, be in hands and knees, which was just like not what felt good at the
Yeah.
moment. And so she did it. And I get off the bed and she's like, we should probably do one more to like make sure we were successful. And then we'll go from there. And we should do it before you get farther along and don't want to get up here again. And I was like, okay, but I didn't do anything. And I just stood there. And I was like, I don't want to. It's like, it's okay. I was like, I don't want to get on the bed. It's like, I cannot get on that bed. Every time I got on the bed, everything was way more painful. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not getting on the bed. And they're like, we'll help you up. I was like, I don't want help up. I don't want to get
Mhm.
on the bed. And they're just trying to encourage me so like sweetly and gently. And I'm like fighting it so hard. And finally, I'm like, I think I'm fine. Like, I think he's moving. And I was like, I have to go to the bathroom. And so, but then I'm like throwing a temper tantrum because I'm like, I just wish. So we have like the tall toilet in one of our bathrooms and not in the other. And so I was like, I don't want to use that toilet because it's so tall, but I don't want to walk all the way to the other bathroom. And I'm all upset. I was like, it's okay. I'll help you. And so he walks me to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I come back and I'm like, I think he shifted. Like I think he just dropped. And I was like, I'm feeling pushy all of a sudden. And I was like, but I'm not sure. Like, let me just take a couple contractions to see.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay. And finally I'm like, no, I don't need to do it again. I definitely feel pushy. He's coming now. And I'm like, "Oh, thank goodness." Like, I didn't have to get on that bed again. I didn't have to do it. I'm
Yeah.
like, "But I wanna be in the tub now."
Yeah.
And, I wish I had gotten in earlier. I did want to, but they were worried it'd slow things down, so they were kinda encouraging me not to.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Can I get in?" They're like, "It's your birth. You can do whatever you want." I'm like, "Well, you didn't tell me that before. Like, if it was my birth, I would've gotten in an hour ago." Because it was the first time I actually felt comfortable because it took care of the chills and the shivering and all of it. It was the
Mhm.
only time my body actually relaxed was when I got in the tub.
Mhm.
And so at this point, I think I'm like, I think I was 7 centimeters when she did the doula hula. And I
Mhm.
was like, okay, like we're getting there. We at least made some progress.
Yeah.
Um, that was like 11:45, I want to say. It's now like 12:15, and I'm like, no, I need to push now. Like he's coming right now. And
Mm.
so I get in the tub and I like relax, and they're all worried about the water temperature, and I'm just like, I don't even care. Like we're good. It didn't bother me in the slightest. And the contractions are like, I was a lot more vocal this time. I'm usually like pretty calm, collected, like to myself until the very end. I was loud this entire time, and to the point where the midwife was like, does she usually need this much support? Because my husband's like pushing on my
Oh
back.
my
Like he
gosh.
bruised my back. He was pushing so hard to do
Wow.
counter pressure, and he was pushing on my hips, and I had like I said, the heating pad and all the things, and like I just need him every time I had a contraction. I'm like, I need you, like stand up now. And she's like, does she need that much? He's like, no, never. And I was like, no, I don't. Like I don't normally need this. And so
It's happening to me.
yeah. And I was like, I could do this on my own in my mind,
Yeah.
obviously I couldn't, but in my mind, I'm like, why do I need this? And so I get in,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden I just am like relaxed. I'm like, okay, this is great. And I like have a couple contractions, and I'm like, this one, my thing was like, I'm not gonna push my baby out. After Rhett, I was like, I'm not pushing. I'm going to like breathe my baby out and let like the ejection fetal response happen on its own, like reflex, and it's just gonna happen. And so I was like, I'm not gonna push, I'm not gonna push. And so I was just like breathing down, and everything's going as planned now.
Yes, of course.
And so I was like, okay, maybe you want to go get the kids. And he's like, okay, are you close? And I was like, well, I'm not pushing yet, but yeah, just like go get them. And I mean, not even 10 seconds later, a contraction starts. And by the noise I made, my midwife goes, yes, she is. She's pushing. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Apparently I'm pushing now." So and he started to come. So my all 3 of my kids come in because that was a big
Aw.
deal. We had talked about home birth, and we had, like, read the books, and,
Mhm.
they all were, like, wanted to be in there. It's like, "You don't have to be, but you can if you want." And my
Yeah.
daughter was like, "I want to be
I'm gonna
there."
be there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
She's like,
So
"This is
sweet.
a big deal. I'm
Yeah.
coming into this room. Like, I'm gonna be at the birth." The boys walk in. They watch me. They're like, I don't really want to be in here. They're like, our show, we're gonna watch a show. Is that okay? I was like, go for it, dude. Like, peace out. And so they went, and they'd much rather watch a movie than,
Mhm.
birth. Totally get that. And so they did. But my daughter's like, no way. Like, she got my phone out, was like taking some pictures. She's like, I'm all about this.
Mm.
And a couple contractions later, I reached down, and like I said, I felt his bag of water, and I was like, that is the coolest thing. So like, I'm like, that is so cool. I just felt like the hypnotic sac. And I'm like, this is amazing. And so I'm like talking and smiling like in between these contractions, and literally he's like right there. And the next contraction, my water broke. And I don't know if it was that one or the next one, but then his head comes out. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like feeling his head, and I'm like, this is so cool. Like I'm just sitting waiting for the next contraction, and
Mhm.
I look at my daughter, I'm like, do you want to feel his head? She's like, yes. And without hesitation, just puts her hand in the pool and just like
Aw.
feels his head. She's like, oh, that is the coolest thing ever.
Oh my
And she just
gosh.
was like,
Oh, she's never gonna forget that.
oh no, she's not. She
Mhm.
wants to be a midwife now
Aw.
because of that moment. Like she talks
Wow.
about it. She's like, I was at my brother's home birth, and it was so impactful for me that I now want to be a midwife. Like that's what she tells people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my
she's just
gosh.
like dead set that that's what she's
Mhm.
going to do now.
Mhm.
And so he, next contraction, he comes out, and I got to like reach down, bring him up, and his cord was wrapped around his shoulders and under his armpit.
Oh,
And so that
wow.
explains like his weird positioning and the back labor and all of that because
Yeah.
his arm was out like
Ugh.
this. And so I like gently like start to get him. My midwife comes in, helps me like untangle him,
Mhm.
and I had a really short cord, so I had to like hold him down a little bit and put him on my chest, like so he was down here. And but then he was there. She was like right there with him, and so I have pictures of like the two of us,
That's
and
so
like she was
sweet.
closer in it than my husband was. She was just all about it. She's like, I sang him his first lullaby, and
Aw.
she's like, I was the first kid to hold him, and all the things. And so she was just completely like that was the best birth
Mm.
because of that
That
moment
moment,
with
yeah.
her. Yeah,
Totally.
because of that. Like that made the birth so
Yeah.
special. But the labor was not
Yeah, that's
fun.
so rough. You
So
had to
that was
work for
yeah.
that. In
It
many
did.
ways, you had to work for him.
Yeah, he was hard. And
Mhm.
so he definitely brought a whole new demeaning with him. And like I said beforehand, and his labor and my pregnancy was the hardest pregnancy. But he has in turn been the absolute sweetest baby. And just like everyone's obsessed with him. The whole family is just like, he's everyone's baby.
Yeah.
Like somebody told me that about the third, and it's so true for the third and any after. Like your kids are old enough that that's their baby too, and they're obsessed with that baby. And so that was it with Hank. Like he's their baby. They'll come in the morning and they're like, they don't want to see me. They want to see Hank.
Yeah.
And they take him from me, and like Ellie will be like, can I hold him when we're out doing things? I'm like, you have him 24/7. Like, leave him alone. Let him play. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, girlfriend, like, you can have him whenever you want.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the story of Hank and how he completely changed our whole family.
Everything.
Yeah.
What a sweet little caboose.
Yeah.
To your
Absolutely.
stories.
You guys feel complete?
I am content. I don't know. Like, I've always been like, I knew I wanted another one from, the previous birth. This time, I don't really want to do pregnancy or birth again for the first time. I usually love pregnancy and birth, but that one was hard.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm a little older. I have 4 kids. Like,
And he's a year and a half.
But I'm also not like, I'm absolutely done. I'm shutting that door for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of at the point where we're just going to leave that one up to God and let him decide that, because I'm sad to think about never getting to do it again. That's also really heartbreaking for me. But like I said, I'm so content.
Yeah.
Like I just feel so content with my family the way it is.
Yeah.
So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on
I
the
know,
podcast
thank you.
and
Thanks for having
sharing.
me.
I loved those stories.
4 birth stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extra special.
Extra special.
Why wash it? Thanks for joining us on Girly Pop Birth Talks, where we hold space for the messy and meaningful journey of becoming her.
If today's story moved you, made you laugh, or reminded you of your own strength, we would love it if you subscribed, shared the episode, and left us a quick review.
We're so glad you were here.
Seriously, you're one of us now.
We can't wait to do this again soon.